If you haven't made a decision on December yet, far from it. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Today is going to be the Thursday, October 30th edition, the penultimate show prior to Halloween. We're going to have some fun. We got a lot of earnings last night. We got some more this morning, a lot to cover. We've got some movers to cover. We've got futures forward here today. A lot of stuff to go over. It's going to be a wild one. I think we should have some trades on some big stocks here today. Can't wait to see what you folks are looking to trade here today. Really excited. It's going to be a good Thursday. We're going to make some money. And of course, we are going to have some fun before this Halloween tomorrow. So Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for October 30th, 2025 begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. And I got to say, loving what I'm seeing in the chat here today. Loving what I'm seeing. Sun-Kissed Yogi is first here today. Sam says, good morning. Feels like a perfect day to make some money. Sam, I couldn't agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. And then Sam says, and holy cow, how early do I have to be first on here? Got to say, gives me great pride to see that you folks are trying to join and trying to be first and trying to get ready for the market day. I know I joke about bonus points here and all of that, but the reality is if this is what you're doing for a YouTube show, you have what it takes inside to be a great trader for the rest of your life. That discipline, that waking up early, that hunger, those are good qualities. And a lot of you folks have that. And I'll tell you something else. I think I figured out, I know that some of you are always posting messages here and I missed some of the really early ones. I think I figured out how it works. So what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to try getting here a little bit earlier so I can see some of those earlier comments. We'll see how it works, but I like how it's going right now. Nonetheless, Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Sam, likewise. Ryan, good morning. Francis, good morning. Ryan says, y'all are ridiculous. I've been waiting since 3 a.m. I absolutely love it. Marty, good morning. Azrar, good morning. EKS, good to see you again. Brian, producer, Cad Monkey. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Jane, good morning. Welcome back. Jane, I hope you got some good news yesterday. Let me know if you ended up making some dough yesterday. We got another attempt here today. Sean, great to see you again. Welcome back. Zach, good as always. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Dave, good morning. I think that's Big Dave. Good morning. Fact Checker, good morning. Welcome back. Robot to Trade. I love the handle. Good morning. Welcome back. Big Bees, it's good to see you, my man. Welcome back. Big Bear Hug, good morning. Glass Half Full, good morning. Neville, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Jay Harris, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Wiss and Charles, good morning. Live to trade, trade to live. Amen, brother. Good morning. Blazed Rhino, good morning. Johnny, good morning. Best Life, good morning. Jim, good morning. White Chocolate, Durkis, and Edro, welcome back. Jim, good morning. Richard Judge, spreading positivity everywhere. Absolutely love it. Good morning, boss. SH6H, good morning. Positive Trader, good morning. Good to see you again as well. Robert, good morning. Kelly for you, good morning. Rooster, good morning. Anonymous Girl, good morning. 1BSD Junkie, good morning. GB Slice, good morning. Lombardo Trades, good morning. I'm a Trader too, good morning. Darkside Hemi, Knights Lance, and this is Inver Nintendo. Probably messed that up. Good morning. Chart Hustle, good morning. Shane, good morning. Neville, good morning. Yas, good morning. And Meatball, good morning. It's good to see a whole bunch of you. Let's go ahead and get started with the stock market today. All right, futures are near unchanged here today to slightly down. S&P futures actually exactly flat here, 0.00% change. Dow futures here down 0.3. That's likely because of Microsoft, down 0.30. And the NASDAQ actually just turned green. It was just flat and now it is up 0.02%. So for the most part, we are basically just flat here today. Now, let's take a look at some cues from the last session. The S&P 500 sectors largely declined on Wednesday, as real estate, consumer staples, and material stocks recorded the biggest losses. The meeting between President Trump and President Xi yielded significant agreements, including reduced U.S. fentanyl tariffs in exchange for China restarting tremendous amounts of U.S. soybean imports, a settled deal on rare earths, and strong indications that a broader trade deal is going to be imminent, quote, pretty soon. So some pretty good news there, although not totally official. That gives us another possible upside catalyst. We'll see when that does end up coming. Despite the positive meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech on Wednesday weighed on stocks as he cautioned that another cut is, quote, not a foregone conclusion. Far from it, end quote. This is pushing back against expectations that have built up across financial markets in recent weeks. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about it here today. But how many of you think we're going to be getting a rate cut in December? Looks like there's some question about that, and the CME Fed Watch tool supports that as well. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.07%, and the 2-year bond was 3.59%. Now, we do have some stocks in focus here today, and none of them should be a surprise. The first one here is Alphabet. Alphabet soared 7.57% in the pre-market on Thursday after reporting better than expected financial results for the third quarter, with revenue of $102.35 billion and earnings of $2.87 per share. Both of those beat the estimates. The key here is Google Cloud revenue growth. In my opinion, they caught up to Microsoft and caught up to Amazon. Maybe not completely caught up, but they absolutely closed the gap. Google here actually trading at $299.82 as your high print here in the pre-market. We might see 300 prints out of Google here today. The next one is Meta. Meta Platforms tumbled 7.39% despite upbeat earnings. However, its diluted earnings per share of 105, which includes a one-time non-cash income tax charge of $15.93 billion, made the results not directly comparable to Wall Street estimates of $668 per share. Meta also had a comment. We're going to cover it here in a sec, but Meta had a comment about increased costs too, increased CapEx spending on the AI front. Microsoft is our third stock in focus here today. They declined 2.78% as it estimates second quarter sales of $79.5 billion to $80.6 billion versus the market estimate of $79.95 billion. Microsoft actually is up off the lows in the pre-market today, so there might actually be a short-term trade setting up for Microsoft here today. Amazon was 0.5 lower, or 0.5% lower, ahead of its scheduled earnings to be released after the closing bell today. It didn't stop with the big earnings yesterday. Today is going to be Apple and Amazon. Analysts are expecting $157 per share on revenue of $177.74 billion. Apple rounds out our list. As I just mentioned, shares were 0.72% higher as analysts expected to report earnings at $177 per share on revenue of $102.17 billion after the closing bell. All right, let's take, you know what? I almost always forget. And then I remember we're going to take a look at the SPY chart. Let's go ahead and do that. Here we are. We're still in our channel. And we did set a new all-time high yesterday, albeit briefly. And it looks like we're kind of trading sideways here. Be interested to see how we close here today. Do we end up trading a little bit lower and test some of these downside areas, maybe the center point of this channel or some previous gaps that we had on the way up? Yet to be seen. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at yesterday's all-time high value. We actually did trade higher than that in the after hours yesterday. We'll see if we have the strength to do it here in the regular session. High 689.70. That's going to be one of your levels here today. Currently sitting at 686.5 in the pre-market. So we'll see where we end up going with SPY here today. Let's take a look at some insights from analysts. Market strategist Ed Yardeni is striking a cautious tone on the economy and stocks, warning that the Federal Reserve against fueling market speculation. Following the Fed's recent rate cut, Yardeni argues against the move, stating that easier policy is, quote, is increasing financial instability, end quote, and urging central banks to not feed the animal spirits in the stock market. Let me know how that goes, Ed. He views the economy as mixed, pointing to a weak labor market where many companies have been announcing headcount reductions. Yardeni notes the bond market agrees, saying it isn't buying the Fed's cover story as yields rose post-cut. Separately, LPL's chief equity strategist Jeff Bookbinder addresses market psychology, noting investors often fear psychological October effect based on historic crashes. No word of Halloween was part of that. However, he highlights that this year, the S&P 500 is, quote, bucking the psychological October effect, end quote, with strong gains. Despite the positive momentum, Buckbinder's team remains neutral on equities, favoring large cap growth while balancing domestic AI potential against foreign upside from the weaker dollar. Now, one of the big stories here, the Trump-Xi meeting. Trump concludes an amazing meeting with Xi Jinping and teases a deal pretty soon. The much-awaited meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday concluded with significant decisions on trade, soybeans, and resources. The two leaders met at the sidelines of the APEC summit in Busan, South Korea, the first in-person meeting between the two since Trump's second term began in January for about an hour and 40 minutes. Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One about the reduction in fentanyl tariffs from 20 to 10%. The reduced fentanyl tariffs will take effect immediately, lowering the level on Chinese exports to 47% from 57%. Trump still called the subject of fentanyl very complex and expressed confidence that Xi would work hard to stop those related deaths. In exchange, Beijing has pledged to step up measures against fentanyl trafficking and restarts imports of tremendous amounts of U.S. soybeans and other agricultural goods, as per Trump. He also appreciated China's gesture to resume large quantities of soybean imports. The president also said that the U.S. and China have reached an agreement on rare earths and critical minerals. Rare earth issue has been settled, Trump stated, adding that the agreement will be renegotiated annually. So I know there was a lot of fear about that, and it looks like a lot of that was misplaced as well. A lot of that was misplaced. Trump said he had discussed the sale of NVIDIA chips to China with President Xi, adding that it was now up to Beijing to continue talks with the company. Quote, "That's really between you and NVIDIA," end quote, Trump is said to have told the Chinese president. However, he clarified that the discussion did not cover the sale of NVIDIA's latest Blackwell chips to China. Trade deal pretty soon? Well, when asked about signing a trade deal with China, Trump replied, pretty soon. He added, quote, "We have not too many major stumbling blocks," end quote. Trump also announced plans to visit China in April, adding that Xi is expected to make a return visit to the U.S., though no specific dates were provided. Overall, he calls the meeting amazing and rated it a 12 out of 10, emphasizing the positive outcomes and agreements reached. Trump also noted that Taiwan was not part of the talks, but that topic of Ukraine was discussed extensively. He emphasized that the U.S. is willing to work with China towards resolving the conflict. Xi said China's growth aligns with Trump's vision to make America great again, emphasizing that China and the U.S. should be partners and friends, as being reported by the China Daily. He added that both nations are, quote, fully able to help each other succeed and prosper together, end quote, and expressed readiness to work with Trump to build a solid foundation for China-U.S. relations and create a sound atmosphere for the development of both countries, end quote. Really, the only thing that could have made this better was an official deal that we could have poured over and looked into. I think the market is probably waiting for that, but nonetheless, given the meeting here, definitely good news. Absolutely good news across the board there. We'll see how this one all shakes out. Next story here, going to be about Powell. You didn't think we were going to not talk about Powell here today, did you? Fed Chair Jerome Powell threw cold water on investor hopes for another interest rate cut in December, stressing that the Federal Open Market Committee remains deeply divided and that the road ahead is clouded by data gaps and conflicting risks between the central bank's objectives. Speaking after the central bank lowered rates by 25 basis points to 3.75% to 4% for the second straight meeting, Powell cautioned that another cut is, quote, not a foregone conclusion. Far from it, end quote, pushing back on the expectations that had built up across financial markets in recent weeks. And this repricing of the market is definitely something that we're going to have to pay attention to. We'll keep watching the Fed watch tool, the CME Fed watch tool, to see how those percentages changes as well. And ultimately, we get our first data point here today. Following Powell's comments, the CME Fed Watch data showed a sharp repricing in December expectations. The probability of the Fed holding rates steady jumped to 12%, up from just 1% the previous day. Investors had been nearly certain of a third straight cut amid slowing growth and moderate inflation. Powell said the committee's debate showed, quote, strongly differing views about how to proceed, end quote, noting that some policymakers remain more focused on upside inflation risks while others are increasingly concerned about labor market softness. Quote, we haven't made a decision for December, end quote. With the ongoing U.S. government shutdown limiting the release of key statistics, Powell warned that the Fed may need to be more cautious. Quote, if you're driving in the fog, you slow down. I know I slow down when I drive in the fog. He said, referring to the lack of complete data, quote, we won't have the detailed feel of things. If uncertainty is high, that could be an argument for caution, end quote. Recent inflation data, such as the September Consumer Price Index, came in slightly softer than expected, though Powell noted tariff-driven price pressures in goods could lift inflation temporarily. Quote, we've now moved 150 basis points closer to neutral than we were a year ago, end quote, Powell referring to the estimated 3 to 4% range for the neutral rate. This level neither stimulates nor restricts economic activity. Powell suggested that some committee members believe interest rates may have already reached an appropriate level. Quote, I think for some part of the committee, it is time to maybe take a step back and see whether there really are downside risks to the labor market. Powell confirmed the Fed will halt the reduction of its balance sheet, or QT, quantitative tightening, on December 1st, freezing the size of about $6.6 trillion. Mortgage-backed securities will be reinvested into Treasury bills, shortening the duration of Fed holdings. He said this transition reflects the system approaching an ample reserve level and a desire to align the balance sheet more closely with the maturity structure of outstanding Treasury debt. Quote, we didn't see a lot of benefit of squeezing out the first few dollars of runoff, Powell said. Quote, the system is tightening organically, and this gives markets time to adapt, end quote. Responding to a question about whether easier monetary policy will further fuel the already booming artificial intelligence and infrastructure boom, Powell said, quote, the current wave of data center construction is unlikely to be interest rate sensitive. These investments are based on longer-term views about productivity and future demand, not 20 basis points of interest savings, he said. They're not particularly interest sensitive compared to other sectors. On whether equity markets are overheating, Powell said the Fed doesn't judge valuations directly, but instead focuses on systemic risks. Quote, it's a mixed picture, but not an overly troubling one, end quote. He said, pointing to well-capitalized banks and generally healthy household balance sheets. Some areas, such as subprime auto loans, show stress, but broader financial conditions appear stable. Powell's comments turned the stock market negative. It was crazy. We were trading up. He started talking. We were trading down. Then it bounced and chopped around for a while. It was a wild day yesterday. Scalper's paradise, really, if you were actively trading it. I know I hit SPY and RGTZ during this whole thing. That was kind of fun. With major equity indexes reversing earlier gains and slipping into the red by late afternoon trading in New York. The S&P 500, as tracked by the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, or VOO, fell 0.2 to 6,878 at 3:30 p.m., pulling back from a new intraday high of 6,920 set earlier in the session. Interest rate sensitive sectors led the decline, with the Real Estate Select Spider Fund, or the XLRE, down 2.9%, and the Financial Sector Spider Fund, ticker XLF, down 1.9%. While the NASDAQ 100 managed to hold on to 0.3 gain, the small cap Russell dropped sharply, falling more than 1%. Quick update here on one of the trades that I've been talking about for a long time. I've had Rocket for a real long time, ticker RKT, and I put a stop on the trailer piece as Rocket was trading up and even above 20. I was selling into that move higher. I've got a couple of contracts here that are a trailer on this trade. My stop is at 100% gain. So if Rocket continues to sell off, that trade will get wrapped up. Will be closed on that. I still think that there might be something else going on with Rocket. We talk about Rocket quite a bit, and our real estate industry expert that joins us on Happy Hour also has a gut feeling that something else might be going on here. So even if the trade gets closed, we'll keep it on watch, but just wanted to update with where we were at there. Day trader, that summary was comical. Okay, man, whatever you say. What's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to open your eyes and see that it's not as bad as originally feared? I mean, that's absolutely wild. All right, next here is going to be Meta. Meta stock drops after Q3 earnings. CapEx will be notably larger in 2026. This report to me was the most interesting. Meta's trading down here in the pre-market and actually looks like it's going to test the 50-day moving, the 200-day moving average here today. And what's notable about that is I think there's actually going to be a short-term intraday trade here today. I wouldn't be surprised if it bounced in today's session. Where it closes ultimately is going to determine the next direction here. But let's go over what was said there. Meta Platforms released its third quarter earnings report after Wednesday's closing bell. They reported diluted earnings per share of 105, which includes a one-time non-cash income tax charge of $15.93 billion and may not compare to estimates of 6.68. On an adjusted basis, earnings per share came in at $7.25, according to Benzinga Pro, and quarterly revenue of $51.24 billion, which beat the street estimate of $49.38 billion, and was 26.25% increase over revenue of $40.58 billion in the same period last year. Quote, we had a strong quarter for our business and our community, end quote. That was from Zuckerberg, Meta's founder and CEO. Meta Superintelligence Labs is off to a great start, and we continue to lead industry in AI glasses. If we deliver even a fraction of the opportunity ahead, the next few years will be the most exciting period in our history. How about that? Here are some highlights from the report. Family Daily Active People, abbreviated as DAP. DAP was 3.54 billion for average for September of 2025, an increase of 8% year over year. Ad impressions delivered across our family of apps, that increased 14% year over year. Average price per ad increased by 10% year over year. Revenue was $51.24 billion, which was an increase of 26% year over year. Revenue on a constant currency basis would have increased 25% year over year. Cost and expenses, the total cost and expenses were $30.71 billion. This is an increase of 32% year over year. Capital expenditures, including principal payments on finance leases, were $19.37 billion. And here's the thing, quote, our current expectation is that capital expenditures dollar growth will be notably larger in 2026 than 2025. We also anticipate total expenses will grow at a significantly faster percentage rate in 2026 than 2025. With growth driven primarily by infrastructure costs, including incremental cloud expenses and depreciation. That was a quote from Zuckerberg's prepared commentary on the back of those earnings. Quote, employee compensation will be the second largest contributor to growth as we recognize a full year of compensation for employees hired throughout 2025, particularly AI talent, and add technical talent in priority areas. Meta sees fourth quarter revenue in the range of 56 to 59 billion versus the 57.21 billion analyst estimate. Now there's some more on this. They bet big on smart glasses and they call wearables extremely profitable as a long-term play. On Wednesday, Meta Platforms CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressed investor concerns about the profitability of the company's growing wearables business during the third quarter earnings, saying Meta's investment in smart glasses and augmented reality devices could eventually turn into an extremely profitable business. When Truist Securities analyst Youssef Squali asked if Meta expects to sell enough hardware to recoup its investment in wearables, Zuckerberg said that while the company earns revenue from device sales, the bigger opportunity lies in services and AI features layered on top of these devices. The work on Ray-Ban Meta and Oakley Meta product is going very well, he said. If these continue going as well as they have been, I think they will be a very profitable investment. Zuckerberg added that Meta's focus extends beyond hardware. Quote, the investment here is not just to build the device, it's also to build services on top, end quote. I think over time, the AI is going to become the main thing that people are using them for. And I think that's going to end up having a big business opportunity by itself. Zuckerberg also reaffirmed Meta's commitment to developing advanced augmented reality products, citing the Orion prototype unveiled at the company's Connect event last year. Quote, we're going to keep on investing in things like more full field of view product from the Orion prototype that we showed at Connect last year. So those things are obviously earlier in the curve towards getting to being a sustaining business. Sorry for that. Our general view is that we want to build out to reach many hundreds of millions or billions of people. And at that point, it's just going to be an extremely profitable business. Meta dropped after these earnings. Meta posted third quarter diluted earnings per share of 105, which includes a one-time non-cash income tax charge of $15.93 billion, making the results not directly comparable to the Wall Street estimates of $668 per share. The company projects fourth quarter revenue between 56 and 59 billion, which surpassed the 57 and change billion consensus. During the earnings call, Zuckerberg highlighted strong consumer interest in the company's next generation wearable lineup. He added that the 2025 AI glasses lineup, including the Ray-Ban Meta and the Oakley Meta Vanguards, have been selling well, with customers praising longer battery life, improved camera quality, enhanced AI features, and refined design. Zuckerberg also revealed that Meta's new Ray-Ban display glasses and the Meta new Neural Band, sold out in nearly every store within 48 hours, with demo slots being booked through the end of the month. I've only met one person that has the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. It's actually the bartender at the Mexican restaurant that's right by my house that I very much enjoy. And I asked him, I said, do you really like it? He said, these are the best. He said, I use them for everything, making calls, all of this stuff. He actually really liked them. That's the only person that I know. So I turn it to the group here. Do any of you folks like these wearables? The other question that I have is, how would you compare this to the watch? Because I really feel like the watch is kind of an accepted wearable now. Apple obviously leading that. Samsung has a really good watch. I'm just curious to know from the group, how much proliferation into other wearables do you think there is actually going to be? All right, next stock that I want to take a look at is going to be Meta. Alphabet's reported financial results for the third quarter after the market closed on Wednesday. Here's a rundown of what happened. Google's parent Alphabet posted third quarter revenue of $102.35 billion, beating analyst estimates of $99.64 billion. That's according to Benzinga Pro. The company reported third quarter earnings of $287 per share, which beat the $233 per share estimate. Total revenue was up 16% on a year-over-year basis, driven by double-digit growth across all segments. Google search was $56.57 billion. That was up from $49.39 billion last year. YouTube advertising, $10.26 billion. That was up from $8.92 billion last year. I contributed to that, I'm sorry to say. Google Cloud, $15.16 billion, up from $11.35 billion last year. And Google advertising, $74.18 billion. That's up from $65.85 billion last year. Alphabet ended the quarter with approximately $98.5 billion in cash equivalents, and marketable securities. The Google parent company said it now expects approximately $91 billion to $93 billion in capital expenditures in 2025 due to growth across the business and demand from cloud customers. Remember, I had said Google is still ripping here. $299.82 was the high print here in the pre-market. Stock is up bigly. Stock is up like 24 points, a little bit more than that. To me, this is one of the big things here. Google Cloud really does seem to be closing the gap. And if that can continue, there might even be some more headway here for Google. Quote, our full stack approach to AI is delivering strong momentum, and we're shipping at speed, including the global rollout of AI overviews and AI mode in search in record time. In addition to topping leaderboards, our first party models like Gemini now process 7 billion tokens per minute via direct API use by our customers. That was, end quote. That's from Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet. Alphabet said the Gemini app now has over 650 million monthly active users. The company also noted it has a backlog of 155 billion for Google Cloud. Alphabet's management team went on to discuss that in the conference call, and the stock traded higher from that conference call. So it looks like another good day on deck here for Meta. All right, folks, that takes care of some of the news here today. Let's go ahead and start our Futures Fever segment. Oh, do we not have the guest? Oh, we do. There's David. David, let me know when you're ready. We'll go ahead and bring you on here. Might actually not be ready. I do have another story here. All right. Let me go ahead and roll through that. We'll bring David on as soon as he's ready. It was about Alphabet here. The AI bet delivers record $100 billion quarter, and the cloud backlog surged to $155 billion. The standout performer was Google's cloud, which saw its AI-driven backlog surge by an astonishing 46% sequentially to $155 billion. This monumental increase underscores robust enterprise demand, with CFO Anat I knew I was going to screw it up. Ashkenazi, I hope I got that right, highlighting that cloud has signed more billion-dollar deals in the first 9 months of 2025 than the previous 2 years combined. Cloud has another great quarter of accelerating growth, with AI revenue as a key driver. That came from Sundar Pichai. Google's foundational search business is also experiencing an expansionary moment thanks to AI. AI overviews and AI modes are actively driving query growth, with AI modes alone now boasting over 75 million daily active users globally. Pichai noted, quote, "Our full stack approach to AI is delivering strong momentum, and we're shipping at speed, including the global rollout of AI overviews and AI mode search in record time," end quote. This growth in user engagement, even for commercial queries, suggests that AI is enhancing rather than cannibalizing Google's advertising ecosystem. Who said that a while ago? This guy. The results solidify venture capitalist Chamath Palihapitiya's statement in the generative AI race will ultimately be won by established tech incumbents, not new startups, citing their massive distribution as the decisive factor. In an ex-post on October 20th, he stated that Google Gemini, quote, "has a huge runway ahead of itself as their models and services become better," end quote. YouTube, another critical segment, reported a 15% increase in advertising revenue, with significant milestones reached. YouTube Shorts now generate more revenue per watch hour than traditional in-stream video in the US. This addresses prior concerns about short-form content monetization. To meet the escalating demands for its AI infrastructure and services, Alphabet announced a significant increase in 2025 capital expenditures to between 91 and 93 billion, with a significant increase projected for 2026. The aggressive investment, including scaling NVIDIA GPUs and Google's own TPUs, demonstrate confidence in the long-term returns from its AI leadership. As Pichai concluded, quote, "Our leadership in AI positions us so well for the opportunity ahead." So, huge returns for Google. Another huge morning today. Let's see if Google sets up well for us today. Okay, David is gone. Ready to roll. Awesome. So he said he was ready, and then he dipped. Where's he at? Where is he at? Okay. Producer, do you have any idea what's going on? I don't know. You know what? We'll go over some charts here while we wait for him. I think that's probably the smartest thing. I don't know where he went. Any case, we are going to be starting futures pretty soon. All right, let's take a look at some of these charts here. I do want to start off with Google because this is the one. This obviously had the best earnings. Look at this chart. Look at this chart. Huge move here. We obviously had the break above the trend line. It has been great since then. I do think that a 300, I know this is not really saying a whole lot. We're only like $2 and change away, but I do think a $300 print is coming here. We'll see if we're able to maybe run and go higher here. But I think today at minimum, we're going to test 300. I didn't have anything on for earnings. Let me know if you folks traded this. Are you looking to trade this here today? Are you looking to add on dips here? Let me know. Lion Atlas saying, I like Google. So you like the products, the stock. Where do you want to buy it? Where's the spot here for Google? That's kind of what I'm looking for there. All right, next here, let's take a look at Meta. This was another one. Looks like some of you folks are looking for Meta here. What I'm looking for out of Meta is two things. First of all, do we bounce off this 200-day? I've got that value 678.5, 678.46. Let's just call it 678.5. Looks like we're bouncing off that. I also have a down trend line here that originated from February of 2025. That's right beneath the 200-day. In fact, let me try and estimate that exact price down there, 668. So we do have a pretty good support area here. We'll see if this can actually cause the stock to bounce here. Obviously, we'll have a gap above that if that's the case. The other thing that we want to look at here for Meta, if we do trade higher, do we end up breaking out of this? We'll see. We'll see here on Meta. I still think that a bounce play off the 200 is good here. Let me know if any of you are looking to trade Meta here. I don't like Facebook. I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, I don't either. I don't have Facebook. I was part of the original 10 schools back when Facebook was only available to colleges. I had it for a long time. I don't like it. I don't have any of their products really either. That's why I'm kind of interested on wearables. Maybe we should do a poll, producer. Maybe we should do a poll on wearables. Let's not necessarily make it specific to Meta, because I understand if you don't like Meta, that makes sense to me. But let me know just overall if we're bullish on wearables, if we think we can do, if we think there's going to be more headway in that. I'd be interested in that. Let's see what else was going on here. Same. I won't own any Meta products. I'm with you on that. Only Meta product I own is the Quest VR. Can't lie, it's sick. You're a Beat Saber fan, aren't you, Brian? You're a Beat Saber fan, aren't you? Actually, I've heard Beat Saber is an extremely good workout. You literally get to play around with makeshift lightsabers. Sounds actually pretty cool, although I've never played it myself. Okay. Google is my bet for the survivor of any bubble burst. They did it once and they can do it again. Anne-Marie, good morning, Anne-Marie. Google blew past the gamma wall at 270. Nearest gamma line is 300. Could be resistance today. Okay, so that 300 level is going to come into play here today. Maybe there's a potential short trade up there. That makes sense. We'll see what we end up getting. We'll see what we end up getting from that. Atlas says, I like Google at this price, and I think Google is going to 350 before the year end. Lion, I like when you do that. I like when there's very, very specific predictions that we can measure. That's it. So you like it right here after earnings, 350 by year end. We'll see if we end up getting that. Let me know if you do take a new trade on that. If you're already in a trade, I don't know how that helps the group, but I would like to know if you make a new trade. Producer already had a poll up before I even asked. I'm sorry, producer. I should have just known. Okay, let's see. We also wanted to take a look at the Microsoft chart, but you guys have some more comments here. Okay, Google selling some at 300 and looking at 315, 327 for November monthly calls. Okay, so you're looking for some more upside there. Knights Lance agrees with you on Google. Benjamin says, I can't wait to buy the Meta glasses as soon as they come to a store near me. Okay, so that's good to know. So let me ask you, when you say I can't wait, what is it that you are really looking forward to out of that? Like what's that big driver that's really getting at you? That's what I'd like to know. Meta didn't create Oculus. That's right. Palmer Luckey created Oculus and Meta bought it from him, making him a billionaire. Brian says the glasses are cool, but what do you mean they're recording me in public? I guess that's no good. Okay. And then Anne-Marie said, thinking so, failed the test into higher support at 270 to 275. Joe's asking, what do the wearables really do that your phone cannot besides functioning as sunglasses or something? Well, I think you can get prescription lenses in them as well, but that's not what you're asking. That's kind of my issue here. Like for me, the watch is helpful because it automatically tracks a lot of stuff that I want to track, including things on the golf course, which I'm normally forgetting about because I'm so pissed at my previous poor shot that I forget what I need to do next. So I love that my watch does a lot of that for me, in addition to doing things like counting my steps and telling the time. Good question there. Good question there about that. Day trader here saying recording and listening to everything. That's, I feel like my phone's already doing that, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not sure that adding glasses to that really changes anything, so to speak. I don't know. I just don't do anything really bad. That's the way to avoid a lot of that. It seems to me the way to avoid it. Atlas saying, remember, Ryan, you remember a few months ago when Google dipped below 160 and I said, buy Google at this very price? Yes, I do, because I also had one of my trading buddies who you've seen in here, Stay Focused, said the same thing at 145, and I listened to him. And here we are today. So pretty good stuff there. Okay, let's take a look at Microsoft here real quick. Do we have David yet? I don't know what happened to David. I'll have the producers look for it, but maybe we won't be doing Futures Fever today. Is that on deck? I don't know. We'll be flexible. That's what we do here at Benzinga. We are flexible with all of that stuff. Okay. Let's take a look at Microsoft. MSFT. Here's your Microsoft chart. Microsoft trading down here at about 5:30 today. This is what it looked like. So right when they released the report, actually the first move was higher here. It did end up trading down, and it looks like it found some support here at 5:15. I'm encouraged that today in the pre-market, we're actually trading up. Part of me wonders if we have enough strength here to trade up 10 more points and maybe do a red to green move here on Microsoft. I feel like if we get that, we're probably going to rip higher here. We'll see if we get that. This one I definitely want to put on watch. Let me know, are any of you looking to trade? I know Microsoft is like a long-term hold for a lot of you, so maybe you're not necessarily looking to trade around it. But let me know what you think here about Microsoft for a potential trade. I actually wouldn't be shocked if this ends up going green here today. In fact, didn't we have a earnings report yesterday morning? Stock dropped, and then it went green. God, I can't remember what it was. My goldfish memory is letting me down right now. I could have sworn we actually took a look at it, I believe. Can't remember what stock that was. I think we might see something similar here in Microsoft today. But again, really just want to focus on Meta. 678.5. We go to the daily chart, 678.81, or excuse me, 678.5. That's our 200. So it looks like we're actually opening right at the 200 day here today. I don't know if there's necessarily going to be a trade right out of the gate, or if we should maybe wait this out a little bit. But wow, Meta looks like this is going to be on deck here today. No, you did not miss coverage of CMG earnings. I didn't load my slate up because I didn't prepare that much news here today because I thought we were going to be going to futures forward, but I don't know what happened to that. Let's see if I have one here for Chipotle. I don't. I just had a thing here for NVIDIA left that I couldn't get to. All right. All right, let's go. I don't know where David is, but maybe Peter has some information for us. So let's go ahead and bring Peter on. Let me actually run the intro here. Futures Forward begins right now. Peter, good morning. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Another day, another dollar. My sports teams are doing better. I can't believe it. But how are you doing? And what happened to David? What's going on?
They had a massive storm in Boca, and they've been having storms for days. And there was an internet surge in his house, and so his internet, the whole thing went down. So he couldn't log on at all. So, and then I couldn't find the email, so I reached out to Phil, and he set me up. So I'll cover you as much as I can cover you. Give me a little AC,
no problem.
So anyway,
I have a backup plan too. So if we can't get David back on, no worries. The show will go on. Don't worry about that. But what do you got here for us?
It always does. It always does. So look, I mean, it's really important. It's really important to go over what happened yesterday. Okay, this is probably one of the most anticipated Fed meetings in a long, long time, right? For one particular reason is because, look, the Fed meetings are based on the economic data that comes out, CPI, PPI. I always joke and say DUI and DWI, but those aren't part of the economic data. But all that being said, we've obviously, with the government shutdown for more than 4 weeks, we have not been able to get that information. And apparently the Fed is not either. And I find that bizarre. In the world of 2025 with AI and all that stuff, the fact that we can't get economic data somehow or some way seems a little bit crazy. But it's, for those who don't understand that, it's really based on surveys, right? A lot of these numbers are based on surveys. And so they've had to sort of, they were able to sort of meander their way through it and go to like the what's it called? What's the name of the agency that pays us? ACI, not ACI, whatever it is that does payroll. They were able to find out some of the economic data they could. We ended up getting CPI last Friday, so we had a little bit of economic data, and obviously the Fed has access to whatever they need. So anyway, all that being said, we've been the Fed, in fact, has been sort of trading in the dark too, because look, the bottom line is we got to go back to the August meeting, right? The August meeting of the Fed, right? We were anticipating something. If you go back to 2024, we had well anticipated Fed cuts, which we did not get. We ended up, if everyone remembers, we had that amazing August 6th massive sell-off that was based off of the carry trade out of Tokyo. And we came in on a Monday, and the market, was down 246 points. And there was a big deal. We had waited, anticipating anxiously for a Fed rate cut, and we did not get it. Finally, by the time September came along, we realized we had missed an opportunity back in July and August, and he ended up giving us a 50 basis point cut. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me. Okay, I've lost you. Okay, there you go. Okay, so all that being said, we ended up getting a 50 basis point cut. It was kind of a shock and awe. The market sold off 1,000 points off of that. This is last September 2024. We have a crazy storm here in New York as well. So anyway, all that being said, we're sort of almost mimicking last year in a number of different ways. Just well-anticipated Fed rate cut. Obviously, in the August meeting, Jay Powell did not feel he had enough of the economic data, even though he's been heavily pressured by the Trump administration to cut rates. The bottom line is the reason he has not cut rates until that last meeting is very simple. It's all about economics. Now, we understand that Mr. Trump has a different agenda when it comes to cutting rates. Did I lose?
No, we're still here. We still got you.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Beautiful. All right. So he's been heavily, Jay Powell, who Mr. Trump sometimes likes, sometimes doesn't, was heavily pressured to cut rates. The bottom line was we did not cut rates. If you cut rates in a low growth or no growth economic environment, which we have been in because of tariffs, you end up with a thing called stagflation. Stagflation is high inflation with low job growth and low economic growth and high unemployment. And there is absolutely no silver bullet to get out of stagflation. You've just got to meander your way through it. We've had it a couple times historically. It has not served us well anytime. That's why Jay Powell has held his ground on not cutting rates until he felt the economic data was sufficiently soft to warrant the cut. Well, finally, even in the August meeting, he gave us no inkling about a cut. And then in September, he goes, you know what, guys? It was so amazing because the minute the August meeting was done, we started getting barraged by all this economic data. GDP went down and then up. We had unemployment go up to 4.2. We had the payroll numbers were readjusted aggressively. We had the year-over-year job number that was different by 880,000 jobs. So all this economic data coming into him, and he suddenly realized, and right, which is an economic Congress, if nobody knows. And he went on next and he set the stage. He said, guys and girls, basically, we are getting economic data now to warrant cut. And so he initiated that first 25 basis point cut that we had in September. Now, he had set the stage for more in October or December. And so why it was so deeply anticipated. However, with the government shutdown, we had no access to this information. And that's why it's been problematic. So we end basis point cut The economic that we got, the CPI number we got last Friday, immediately forced the probability of a cut up to 99%. So we knew we were going to get a 25 basis point cut. I was hoping for a 50 basis point cut because I kind of think the market and the economy need a bit of a shock and awe situation. So anyway, he comes on stage yesterday at 2. He announces a 25 basis point. What's significant about yesterday's meeting was there were 2 dissenting governors. 2 of the governors, right? There are 12 governors plus the Federal Reserve chairman. 2, and they all weigh in on what they think is supposed to happen. 2 of the governors dissented and felt that that the economy deserved a 50 basis point cut. That has not happened, right? The last time we had a dissent was back in August. The last time inside that reserve organization. So he came on, he cut it 25 basis points. The market did not react much at all because it was very expected. You could almost say that line, it was priced into the market, right? But then at about 2:30, when he goes on, that's why we always say, David and I, we love trading these days because they're so crazy volatile. And we always say, guys and girls, listen, do not have orders out there at 2 o'clock because the moves are going to be radical on the upside and the downside. And then when he comes on at 2:30 and he has his news conference, that's when he gets into the nitty gritty. Well, sure enough, yesterday was no different than any other time because that's when we saw the market absolutely drop down like a rock. We went down 70 handles on the S&P. Yep. And why did that happen? Why did that happen? Because he said that the December interest rate cut is not locked in the books. Everybody has been anticipating 2 more cuts, right? Yesterday's cut and 1 in December, giving us a total of 0.75 cuts in 2025. But what he said, first of all, was that there were 2 dissenting people with 50. There was one guy who, in fact, thought that they shouldn't cut it at all. And when there's dissent amongst the rank, it completely screws everybody up. And then he said, which blew everybody's mind, was what caused the market to completely sink, was that he said, whatever economic data is coming in, even though it's sparse, we believe that there's a possibility that we may not even cut more in December. Well, that threw everybody into a flux because everyone had positioned themselves, the funds, everybody, the way they work with bonds and treasuries and the dollar and all that stuff. Everybody was positioned for at least 2 cuts, 1 yesterday and 1 more in December. There was no impression at any time were we not going to get another one in December. How much it was going to be, we didn't know. But when he said that it is not locked in the books, I think the term he used was, it was not etched in stone that we are going to have another one after yesterday, then the market did not like that at all. And the market tells you what it thinks of all this economic stuff, right? And it's very clear. They do not hold back on their opinion, and they sold the market hard. And then for the rest of the afternoon, we were in this complete wild roller coaster. It looked like a friggin' heart attack, an EKG and a heart attack, right? It was up and down and up and down. My son and I traded it. A couple of times it worked. A couple of times, we were exactly on the wrong side of the trade. But it's just, for every word that Jay Powell said in his news conference, the investment community hangs on to each word. And when he talked about the fact that the jobs market was softening, they did not like that. And then, they actually liked that because that put more pressure on him to cut interest rates. Everybody needs to understand that this is an example of where bad news is good news, right? The softer and the worse the economy is, the greater chances of more interest rate cuts there is. Now, he did say that, look, what would everybody think? What is the sector in our economy that is most impacted and sensitive to interest rates? It's housing. Okay, housing is completely frozen. And so if we don't cut interest rates again in December, look, higher interest rates for longer is affecting everything about housing starts, remortgaging your house, all that kind of stuff. The real estate market and the housing market and new housing starts and rebuilding and all that is completely frozen. So all of the stuff he set the stage for was really disappointing, but the market was hanging on to every word he said. He said jobs were soft. He said that our economy is out. He also said that they are going to stop quantitative easing in December. Now, everybody needs to understand this is heavy duty economics. I had to really study it to try and understand it. But you realize that the Federal Reserve has a balance sheet, right? We print money, then we have deficits and all that kind of stuff. And then they sell treasuries and bonds and they buy them and China comes in. It's a complicated affair. But when they said we're not going to have any more quantitative easing, that means that they're going to no longer be unwinding this massive position that the Fed has that goes into the trillions of dollars. So look, it's hard to unravel all of this stuff, but we're going to see what the market is going, how the market's going to respond today, because usually the next day is the follow through. Yesterday is usually a very emotional knee-jerk reaction, and then the day after is when people sort of really position themselves. So yesterday, that massive sell-off was totally based on the fact that he said that it's that a cut in December is not a surety. That was the word he used. He said a continuation of this interest rate cutting cycle in February is not a surety. And that's when that, if you look at the graph, you can put up the S&P from yesterday, you saw a massive spike down, and that was very aggressive, right? Anybody who was long into that got themselves guaranteed were blown up. Right, that was a blow up experience for sure.
So let me stop you here. You've been doing this for a long time. What do you think's next?
Look, you know what? My gut is that there are a couple of things going on here. There's a posturing between him and Trump, right? He does not like to be told what to do, right? And Trump is putting heavy pressure for him to cut interest rates again. The Trump administration has already input one of their choices. So we know that Jay Powell's life expectancy at the Fed is very short term. He will probably be leaving that job in April, right? They've already installed one Fed chair. They've already installed one. Okay, they've already installed one new Fed governor who is a Trumper. I don't remember his name. Starts with an M. He's been
Stephen Mirren.
Thank you. He was the one who voted for a 50 basis point cut. So he's the megaphone for the Trump administration. Now, once they get a couple more guys in there and they get to pick who the Fed chairman is, this is going to be a whole nother smoke, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be basically, they're going to knock down the interest rates aggressively. Now, look, higher interest rates for longer is not good for anybody. But if you don't do it correctly, it can really cause a vacuum in the market and can mess things up. That's why I'm a fan of Jay Powell. People are not. I believe if he navigated us through COVID, those S&P is up 100% since COVID. If he had not done what he did, we'd all be on friggin' breadlines now. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I've studied this stuff for 40 years. Okay. So what I think is going to happen in the future is a lot of unknowns, right? My gut is they're going to have to cut one more time in December. It's just the way it looks. The economy is softening. CPI, PPI, we are starting to see the impact of tariffs on the economy, on the consumer, on consumer confidence. That is, I don't know why he played that game yesterday. Economic data that we don't see, or maybe he's just kind of posturing and poking the bear a little bit with Trump, right? By saying that we're not going to cut them in December because that's the fight going on. Trump wants him to cut the heck out of rates, and he does not want you. Look, the bottom line is everyone needs to understand that there's supposed to be, and no disrespect or political incorrectness, there's supposed to be a Chinese wall between the federal government and the Federal Reserve. They should not be even communicating with each other. They are an independent body. Right? So Mr. Trump is actually not allowed to tell the Fed what to do unless he's announcing a new Fed chairman. But he's been heavily pressuring Powell to do everything he wanted to do, and he held his ground. So there are a lot of unknowns. My gut is we will get a cut, but it's really going to be as they say every time he goes on, it's an economic data-based decision. We'll see how much more the tariffs are going to impact our economy, the consumer, jobs market, and all that stuff, and pricing, right? And once we get that, we'll be able to know what's going to happen in December.
Okay. You think we're going to have an all right November? You think the market's going to be choppy? You think it's going to be temperamental? What do you think?
You know what? If you were to ask me, is the market going to be up or down in November? I would say to you, yes. Okay.
Yeah, you'd say both.
That's the best advice I can say. You know what? Look, we still have a super strong AI market. We still have earnings, which is the lifeblood of the market. Earnings and guidance have been more than 80%. More than 80% of the S&P has beat. Right. We had a strong, the large banks had strong coming out of the gate on earnings. We saw a little softness in the regional banks, but there was no follow through on that. It looked for a minute like we were going to resurrect the Silicon Valley Bank SVB failures from last year, because we saw last week when they announced regional bank earnings, they looked soft. They said that a lot of people are having trouble paying their bills, paying their credit cards, paying their mortgages, but we did not see much follow through on that. So the bottom line is all this stuff is sometimes just chatter and noise. And what keeps the market strong is the fact that there's $6 trillion in the sidelines that needs to be bought before the end of the year. The earnings have been blowout solid. The AI phenomenon and revolution is still all things are a go. So my gut is this market goes to 50 thou on the Dow and 7 thou on the S&P, and we're off to the races. Now, is it going to be choppy on the way there? It's very possible. It will be. I always say we're one tweet away from crazy town. As we saw that. We saw it last week. We saw it yesterday, right? When Trump found out that the Chinese weren't buying soybeans from us, the market went down 30, 40, almost 60 handles. Now, we did see in the middle of the night, if anyone was watching, I don't really sleep much, so I was watching the initial meeting between the president of China and Trump last night in the middle of the night in Korea, and it was incredibly friendly. They were talking. I mean, President Xi of China's posturing with Mr. Trump was really extraordinary. We've never seen a conversation that was that tempered and that deliberate by the Chinese and by Trump. It couldn't have been more friendly. They have a plan to really solidify him. And I think this was the silver bullet that Mr. Trump's been holding in his gun for since February, March, and April, when there was that self-inflicted economic Armageddon that we had when the market sold off 20.8%. He knew in the back of his mind that once he got a hold of the president of China and we got sat down face to face, that they were going to make a deal that was going to blow the world out. Trump said yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, buy the stock market because once I'm done making a deal with China, no one has ever seen a stock market with the strength it's going to be when I'm done checking off the box with China. If that happens, and chances are it may, because it should happen, right? They are our largest trading partner, yet they are our most contentious trading partner. And we've got two of the biggest egos, two of the most powerful people in the world, right? President Xi of China and Trump. And they've had a contentious relationship. But at the end of the day, he's a deal maker, right? And he wants to make America great again. It's not a political statement. It's just an economic statement and a fact. And so his whole thing, everything he's done over the last 8 months has been riding on this meeting that he's having middle of the night last night and today and tomorrow in Korea with the president of China. If this goes all well, this market is off to the moon.
Okay. Peter, we'll check in with you again when you reach the actual market. Thank you very much for your update. I'm going to run down some stocks here. I'll see you when you join again.
You go get him, buddy. Thanks for letting me in. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
As always, that is Peter Tuchman. Nice, lengthy update there on the Fed and everything that's going on. We're going to have him back when he reaches the floor of the market. Without David here today, I got a big surprise to you. Yeah, it's the screen share, but it's also 13. We'll bring on 13. 13, welcome to Futures Forward. How are you doing?
Hello, nice to be here. How's everybody this morning?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good here. So I know we're a couple of minutes over what we normally do. Are you ready to run down some movers here today? I will keep my eye on Peter. When he is ready, we will bring him back. But I think we should knock out some of these movers.
Sure, and it's not a really great list either. Some of these or one of these is from yesterday. Another we've already seen before, and it just doesn't look like we have a whole lot of big movement here. There's only two that are over 100%, and then after CMBM, we dropped down to less than 30% of a move with these movers this morning. So not a whole lot of big action. So I didn't cover INTS because that's a penny stock, but I started with VCIG. There you go. Hey guys, how you doing? So this one is moving. Do you want to do your thing?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and start. We will start here with VSIG, ticker VCIG. VCI Global shares are trading higher after its Smart Bridge subsidiary was appointed as the exclusive issuer and treasury manager of the XVIQ token. Day trader, this is another one that I've never heard of before, so I hope you or somebody else has some insight into this token. Anyway, it's scheduled to launch in Q1 of 2026. You can see by the chart here, we ramped in the after hours. We ramped again in the pre-market. We had another move on some pretty good buying volume, and now we're kind of giving that up. I actually think 330 might be a decent spot for us to settle, and we'll see if we end up doing that. Quick look around the horn on this one. 2.45% of the float is shorted. That has 1 day to cover. The float is 1.41 million, so absolutely in the wheelhouse for trading. In fact, we've traded this one before. On average, stock trades 621,000 shares. Today, it's traded 36.5 million. So 13, what are you thinking here? We got another day where we're trading VSIG?
Well, maybe. I mean, as long as we can get support, like you said, 330. I was looking at the 325, but I still like that area. It's down where the 200 EMA is. So as long as we get support down around there and turn back up towards VWAP, start recapturing some of those levels, yeah, we might be able to have a better day. It's going lower right now in the pre-market here. Company does look fine in terms of its financial health. It's got a good balance sheet. It has revenue. It's profitable. So not really worried about it on that side. But as far as the price action goes today, I mean, this is a really nice move up to 550.
Yeah.
Kind of giving a little bit of a similar pattern that we got with CMBM yesterday as we approached the open. It kind of had this tilted head and shoulders look before we ended up going lower in the morning, and then turned around and ripped higher in the afternoon. Which is going to be something we'll talk about in a second here.
Yep.
But BCIG, this one is one I just want to wait and see if it's going to give that support down at the 200 EMA, down at that area you were just talking about. If we get that support, then I think we're going to be in good shape for a turnaround and some higher prints. But we'll see what we end up getting there. We're going to need to see that volume come in as well.
Okay. Good stuff there on VCIG. We've traded, I think both you and I have each traded this before, so we should have a little bit of a feel for it. We'll see if this ends up moving here today.
Happy hour special.
Happy hour. Oh, that's right. Happy hour special indeed. All right. Next one here, CMBM. And I'm glad, I love the way that you kind of tease this, because we talked about this one in the pre-market during our show. It wasn't really great.
Nope.
It did kind of kind of pulled back and maybe created a bottom, but boy, oh boy, if you weren't messing around with the FOMC meeting and all that stuff, you had your hands full here with CMBM, because in the afternoon, this thing returned to its halt fest status and continued to rip higher here. In fact, we got a full $2 before the close, and then we got more craziness and like almost $3 after the close. Now it is holding higher here in the pre-market. It's traded down from its peak, if you will, back down here about 5.5. Oh, you know what? Really quickly, let me just take a sidetrack here. We were just talking about that token. I go to Day Trader when I'm asking about tokens I don't need. Day Trader, never heard of that token before. XVIQ is a token for a program that is going to launch in 2026 per Grok. Grok must have got that news from the press release here this morning.
And that's
exactly what we just said.
I'm not related to that, by the way.
Oh, right. XVIQ, right. That took me a sec. I was like, what am I missing here? But good stuff there. So look, what I say all of that stuff about the token to say that if you're going to trade VSIG here today, unless you have some other type of knowledge about what's going on here, just look at the chart. Just look at the chart, because some of this, that might as XVIQ, that might as well be TVXI1 exclamation point Q token. It doesn't mean anything. Just look at the chart. That's really what it comes down to. Okay, getting back to CMBM here. Huge run yesterday, huge run in the after hours. We're holding, surprisingly, frankly, we're holding that level here today. It is moving off of the news from yesterday. Take a quick look at the short interest on this. 12.41% of the float shorted, 7.88 days to cover. Maybe that short squeeze is what played into this. See if we get some more of that here today. Float on this one, 12.84 million. On average, trades 8.7. Today it's traded 81.3. So what do you think, 13? What do you got here, CMBM?
Well, you already went over this one. We know what it is. We know what it does. Just to recap, this is moving because it's has some kind of a partnership with their One Network and Starlink. This one did get a delisting notice. It's got over a year of cash, so don't really think that we're going to see a capital raise there with that one. As far as the chart goes, this is coming down off its 768 high that it printed about earlier this morning around 7:30, and we're coming into a support area. Now, I think the support is going to be at about 525, the next area that we're going to want to keep an eye on if we don't get it here. If we lose that level, then I think the next area of support is going to be down around like 460 to 475, down around that area, near the 200 EMA on the 5 minute. So those would be the next two areas where I would anticipate support coming in. And if we don't get that support at the 200, then we're probably sinking even further and might not even want to deal with this one today. But if we're going to get any continuation of the price action yesterday, we'll probably end up selling it out of the open and then doing better later on in the day or the morning like we did yesterday. But for now, just want to keep an eye on those support levels, 525, 460, 470.
Okay, great. That's it. We will keep an eye on those levels. Let me keep moving here. Next I have is VIVS. And this has one of those kind of concerning chart formations here in the pre-market, if you ask me. Shares are trading higher on no news on this company. Looks like we did trade up to 5. We actually peaked above 5. Yes, just briefly there. Back in, another spike that peaked us above the VWAP. Couldn't hold it at all. Volume dried up. Lower we go on the stock price. How many times have we seen this exact formation before? Quick look around the horn on this one. 2.8% of the float shorted with 1.04 days to cover. The float on this 2.57 million. Its average 100-day volume is 316,000 shares. So if this thing flashes a trade and you trade it here today, be done with it today. That's the big takeaway. Today it's traded 18.18 million. What do you got on this, 13?
I'm trying to see when it was we last traded this, because I still have drawings on here from when we did. This biotech company, so it's likely we certainly did trade this at one point earlier this year. Just don't know exactly when that was. In any event, this was going to see if I could pinpoint the news we had that day, but we're above all the levels I had drawn out, so we can use those as support, with 235 being the last one that I drew. That's kind of far away from where we're at right now, but we are still continuing lower off the impulse move we had much earlier this morning. We've already lost VWAP. We've already lost the 65 EMA. We're getting some support from the 200 EMA right now in the 5-minute. So if we continue, a little bit more sideways into the open, we're going to want to watch for a recapture of the 65 EMA, and then after that, the VWAP. So if we can, that's if we get support here. So that's what we want to see going to the open here. It's looking like we're starting to get some support. Let's see if that's what we end up getting as we get into the open here in about 19 minutes.
Okay, good stuff there. VIVS, Vivosim Labs. The breakdown there. All right, next here I've got CVU, and it looks like this is moving on news recently. Was that yeah? Excuse me.
It just started like 15 minutes
ago.
It
just started a second ago, so we're going to break this down together. CPI Aerostructure shares are trading higher after the company received an order from Raytheon to manufacture structural missile wing assemblies. This stock popped as high as 360 before backing off. Looks like we just retook the VWAP as I was reading that. Indeed. VWAP there, 297. This thing punching above 3. We'll see if we make another run towards that 360 high. Here's a look around the horn on this. Negligible short interest. 0.16% of the float shorted. There's nothing there. 1 day to cover on that. On average, this thing is a complete and total ghost town. 47,000 shares per day. Your 100-day average. Yeah, nobody trades this thing. Today, 3.61 million shares. Float on this is 11.8 million. What do you think here, 13? You think we get a trade on this? This news good enough to draw you in?
Well, I mean, they had a big name drop there, Raytheon, which is RTX.
Oh,
yeah. So that's great. I mean, we've already talked about how we're probably going to see a lot of, munitions and missiles and firearms and everything that has to go with that. We're probably going to see a lot of ramping up with that in the military, because we're still in conflict with China, even with this trade negotiation happening between Trump and Xi. We're still in conflict with them, and
I think we always will be, and it's not even official yet. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and it might not even be over Taiwan. We might even be going into conflict with them over the Philippines, or it could be some other issue in the South China Sea that starts conflict. That aside, we're trying to expand our munitions stores, and we're trying to expand as much as possible. So this seems like it's in a good direction, but I don't know if it's enough. How much was the contract, or how much was the contract? That's kind of what I would want to know. It might give us a better idea. If there's no terms disclosed, I don't really have a great idea of where this thing might go. But this is looking pretty good right now. 360 is going to be your resistance area. That's where we topped out at. We have some resistance at 330 right now. I can see from the price ladder here, little seller in the way. So if we can get through that seller, maybe we'll see 360 and more. There's a lot of ups. There's a lot of supply up above where we are right now. So wouldn't be surprising if we did have a hard time getting through this 330 to 365 area. That's a lot of consolidation from July and August this year. So it's gonna be a matter of just looking on a daily chart or a weekly chart and seeing where the big areas of supply are, and just keeping an eye on that, because I think that's where you're going to get some the price to run to, but maybe reverse or have a hard time going much higher at those levels. So that's what I'd be looking at here with this. We're still climbing right now. We're chewing our way through this supply that I just mentioned. 365 going to be the top area of that.
Yeah. So you remember when a couple of years ago, when my fantasy team name was Numbers and PRs? Do you remember that?
Yep.
Well, I still wish that I had that team name, and there were no numbers in this PR. So really good point there. You'd like to actually see some terms of that deal. We didn't get any of that. Nonetheless, though, this thing is pushing higher here. 360 definitely going to be a resistance. And one more thing to keep in mind, 13, we'll see where this ends up shaking up. We'll see where this ends up finishing up right around the open. But if this thing drops from here, guess what? We're going to have a trend line, and that trend line is going to give us a spot to break in the regular session. So we'll see if that's what we end up getting here. Okay, next we have the MicroStrategy doppelganger. Yes, MTSR, not MSTR, but MTSR. This reminds me of Tanzania Life Sciences, the Tesla doppelganger that I've punched up more times than I care to admit. Nonetheless, we have a new one here. Metsera. Metsera shares are trading higher after Novo Nordisk confirmed it submitted an unsolicited proposal to acquire the company. Now, when I looked earlier here, an unsolicited approval to acquire the company at $56.50, equal to an approximate equity value of $6.5 billion, or an enterprise value of $6 billion, and contingent value rights up to $21.25. Now, this isn't. They submitted a proposal, but it has not been agreed. The stock is actually higher than the proposal price of $56.50. That's one of the keys. One of the keys here today. So. We'll see. I want to see how this reacts at the open, I guess.
I don't even know that I want to touch this up here.
The one thing that's notable is that it does have extremely high short interest, which is perhaps how it got this high in the first place. We'll have to ask Wisdom if there was another way. Anyway, 34.26% of the float shorted on this, with 2.76 days to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 2.05 million. Today it's done 1.9 million. Float's 14.2 million. So you don't think you want to touch it here today?
I mean, this is over the price that they're trying to acquire it for. And what if Metsera says no? I guess I don't get the appeal of it being up here, kind of going sideways or beyond the takeover price. I get the short interest is attractive, but I mean,
thought here is that there might be an increased bid, maybe a bidding war if another company is interested in it. But we are just speculating. To be clear, we don't have any news on that. But that's one of the things.
So Pfizer addressed this. I don't know what they said, but anyway, I think the risk up here is a little bit higher than I'd like to take a trade up here. So for me, I think I'd just wait.
Okay.
There might be something better to trade to. I don't know that I'm necessarily interested in this. I get the point about the short interest. That makes it kind of interesting. But this, I just don't have the appetite for this up here. It does look like it's trading into an ascending triangle, though. I will say that.
Well, we have a backup, and Jay is all over it. MTSR, isn't this good for VKTX? Well, let's take a look here, Jay. Let's pull up VKTX and see how that's doing. Hey, how about that? That's up 3.5% here in the pre-market. So maybe watching what goes on with MSTR. Did I just do it? MTSR, I did. I knew that was going to happen. Watching MTSR, maybe then we can have a read through here on VKTX. Jay, are you going to trade any of this? Be curious to know what you think of on that. Curious to know.
Wow. Real quick, CVU is absolutely flying.
So that did. Okay. So forget the trend line. Trend line's actually going to go in the other direction, it looks like. Oh, is this? Yeah. Looks like the trend line's going to go in the opposite direction now, since we've set a new high here.
Yeah, this is just pretty much blasted through that supply zone that I was pointing out earlier. Let's see where the next one is. Coming up to, looks like I think we just went up to 4 a second ago. Looks like 4 is the next.
I don't have prints at 4. I've got 395, but yeah, right towards it.
Yeah, so you got 4, and then I would probably say after that 435, 480. Gosh, and that's going to be a tough one after that. Maybe it's somewhere in the fives, but I just can't really get it. Maybe. Yeah, let's look at the 480, and then there's going to be some levels up above between 5 and 585, but you'll have to just kind of decide where that is. It looks like 525 might be one, but I don't know.
Okay, let's go back for another market update from Peter. Let's see if there's anything new going on. We did have the SPY move down here in the pre-market. Peter, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. Give me a second. I'm just getting out of the car. It's a crazy storm.
Okay, I'm just making sure this wasn't a hostage situation that we need to rescue you from. So that's good.
There you go. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
We can hear and see. That's crazy. I actually heard the raindrops bouncing off his umbrella. And he couldn't hear me. Peter, we'll try it again. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. And I can hear the raindrops bouncing off your umbrella.
It's completely nuts here in New York. So anyway, market was down 0.5% pre-market. So obviously we're seeing a follow through, as I described earlier, that the day after the Fed meeting is when you really see people's opinion. The initial response is a very knee-jerk emotional one. Everybody is obviously positioned coming into the Fed meeting. And so they've got a lot of bets on the long side, short side. There's a lot of option plays that people straddles have set up, right, just to cover themselves. And a lot of luck. We're talking about Apex, right? Apex, when you're trading a futures account, there's a way of a lot of people try and get qualified on Fed days because they put orders above the market and below the market. And when you have that knee-jerk emotional reaction and the market goes up, 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 and down, 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 there's a way of really scalping a nice chunk of money on Fed days, which a lot of people did yesterday. However, by the end of the day, we did not close off we closed off the lows. We did not close at the lows. But today, down 0.5% is definitely showing a follow-through where people are believing that Powell's move to not guarantee us another cut in December is a huge, huge move, right? That blew it. Look, sometimes, we know what to expect from him, and sometimes he kind of just pulls a little shock and awe. And I guarantee you that him saying that the December cut is not etched in stone was a complete surprise to everybody. And so that's why I think you're going to see a follow through on the downside today, because everybody, look, this anticipated. I'm good, thanks, Chief. The meeting was so highly anticipated, and everybody had all their bets in. Give me a second, guys. I got to walk through security. Oh, thanks, baby.
I want to see how much of a VIP Peter is getting through security here. I bet this just happens in a flash.
You gosh darn right it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably don't even need a badge. They know who you are.
I've only been here for 40 years.
Yeah. Huh?
All right, there you go.
Told you, through security in a boy. I wish my airport trips were like that. Jeez.
Right, this is like TSA pre-check. Anyway,
yeah, what are they going to do biometrics?
Give me a second. Let me get it right on to the floor. Then we'll see. All right, so let me go see what's going on. Okay, we're just on the exchange. You're walking through the option first, right? So let's see. Oh my God. So the SPYs are 27 and 3/4. Again, that's less. It's about 0.3%. So, you're starting to see some noise. You guys get a little bit of a feeling of what's going on here, right? Down 28 and it's fading. I think, you're starting to see orders build up. We've got about $700 million for sale early on the early look this morning. Give me a second.
Peter, you think there's any chance that we pull out of the open on that follow-through move that you're talking about and then bounce?
You know what? Yes, absolutely. If history tells us anything, let's look at the last pullbacks that we've seen over the last number of weeks. Every one of them has been Mr. Trump and the Chinese were talking about rare earths and that kind of shocked the market, right? We had been flatlining, desperately looking for some volatility, and then we had that 2.7% move. We had no follow through on the downside that Monday. If everyone remembered, that was the weekend that the hostages were released. And over the weekend, they sort of tamped down the narrative between China and the United States. By the time we came in on Monday, we bounced back. We were up 100 handles, if everyone remembers, that following Monday after the 2.75 downward move. But every other day, and there haven't been that many, where the market has at all been in the red, right? It's been so shallow. The market, so the buyers have not let the sellers, get any kind of a heavy hand here, right? So there's a number of reasons for that. Look, a lot of this may change now, because I think everyone was really anticipating Jay Powell to give us a clear message about what the next couple of Fed cuts we're going to look at. So there's a historic number that says that once you engage into a interest rate cutting cycle, okay, which means more than 3 over a year's period of time, that the market historically has been up as much as 16% year over year. So people who track that kind of historic data were positive. They were bullish of the market. One more interest rate cut that we were planning, which could have been a 25 or a 50 in December, would have set the stage to jumpstart the housing market. That was once again also bullish, right? So people were positioned for a heavy bullish bet with the meeting we had yesterday. But all that being said, that the fact that we were trading in the dark for 4 weeks, that the Fed did not have the information, even though I don't believe that at all, because in this day and age, the fact that they couldn't get that info, in the world of 2025 and AI, that we couldn't get information is crazy. But all that being said, we are going to see. So there's 2 scenarios that could happen here. We could open down, 30 handles on the S&P and really break down heavily, or we'd hit a technical level of support and bounce back. If history has told us anything over the last few weeks, earnings have been good. That's the lifeblood of this market. At the end of the day, a lot of the Fed stuff is chatter, right? Sometimes it's significant. Sometimes it can be significant and can really posture the market in a big way. It depends on people's focuses. I think that the most heavy-handed bit of information about today is the fact that the president and the president of China are meeting, and they're planning to make a massive deal. So my gut is that is going to override whatever happens in the Fed. But look, I don't have a crystal ball, so I will always, and I don't pretend. I know I look like Einstein. I'm not that smart. I can only give you what my impression is and what I anticipate happening. There's going to be a couple of scenarios. We're going to open down, maybe a little bit of capitulation and go down and hit some support and bounce back, or we're going to get. And that would be also catalyzed by some positive news coming out of the meetings with China and Trump, or all eyes are on this: the fact that December is not going to be another cut. Now we don't know that for sure; it's not guaranteed. Yeah. So this is all postulating, right? I mean, it's all there's 2 sides to every story here. So we don't know for sure. We just don't know for sure, and so markets love to react to that. It's about expectations. So you know what? Look, it really depends on where the big players are. If everyone was super bullish and now they're and think about it. If people were trading stocks that were very interest rate sensitive and that they've been buying up those stocks in anticipation of a cut, well, then we may see a continuation on the sell side. If people were buying the housing stocks in anticipation that we were going to get another couple 25s, well, then we could be in store for a nice sell-off. And to be perfectly honest, the market is ripe for a sell-off. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of a pullback. We've not had one this year at all, right? So for me, every time we
had one in April.
We had one February, March, and April. But yes, that was the big sell-off of 2025. Mm-hmm. That was a 20.8%. But think about it. It took 11 weeks to get down 20.8%. It took us 4 weeks to get even. Then we had Independence Day, and we're up 13% since then. So besides that big sell-off that we had that time, and that was a self-inflicted economic Armageddon caused by the fact that Mr. Trump chose to disseminate information about the tariffs in a way that the market could not handle. Markets can handle anything except uncertainty and surprises. And so the way that February 19th, which is the record high of the market this year, and the way that the way he came out, and remember the first day he started talking about, the first day he came out, Mexico and Canada, 25%. Then he goes, China, 185%. And so, and then every single day, even Ken Griffin, right, who is the CEO of Citadel, right, the largest hedge funds in the world and a market making firm on the street, who gave $250 million personally to Mr. Trump, big fan of Mr. Trump, he is, right, felt that the way that Mr. Trump positioned himself in February, March, and April eroded the confidence of Buy America. And that really sort of, catapulted that sell-off into where it went. But you know what? At the end of the day, the only silver lining was if we can go down that fast and furiously, we can go back just as quick. And we did. We went back in half the time. If everyone remembers, the minute Mr. Trump said to everybody, you know what, guys, the selling is done. Everybody go buy the market. It reversed incredibly. And we saw that insane rally in 4 weeks. We got back to even and even more so. So, you know what? At the end of the day, we've seen nothing but shallow sell-offs and pullbacks over the last month and a half, 2 months. So, it really depends on where people's focus. If people's focus is on the China story, we're going to go higher. If people's focus is on earnings, we're going to go higher. If people have a heavy, heavy bet, the market's starting to open right here now. If people have a heavy, heavy bet on housing and we don't get an interest rate cut, we're going to see a pullback and a sell-off.
Okay. Really, that was perfect. You finished right at the opening bell. Peter, really good stuff here. We'll see if the buy the dippers are still around or if we have a change in sentiment. Appreciate you.
No problem. How long does the show go? Till 10? If you want, you do your thing and I'll pop back in 15 minutes.
I'll keep an eye out for you. You pop back, we will bring you on, brother. Have a good one.
You're the best. Have a great one. Good luck, everyone.
All right. That is Peter Tuchman live from the stock exchange, which just opened. All right. What do we got here?
Well, looks like we're getting some lower prints in CMVM, but it's trying to recover. VCIG also going lower towards that 200 EMA we pointed out. VIVS trying to get support from its 200 EMA out of the gate here. So we'll see if it continues sideways and gets its footing so it can turn around or if it's going to sink lower. CVU is going higher out of the gate here, recaptured the VWAP, trying to get up to that 414 high that it printed just about 10 minutes before the open. And MTSR is still in that ascending triangle. It's kind of slow moving, a little spready, so got some concern there about whether or not I even want to touch this thing, but it looks like it is trying to move higher. Big seller at 63.25 that they just took out. Looks like every 25 cents is another seller. So this might get locked up. The high from the pre-market is 63.70. We also brought up VKTX. That is spiking out of the gate here, and this could start to really move.
Looks like Apple, that traded up right out of the gate, 273.65, your high there on Apple. Chipotle looks like it's trying to put in a bounce after its earnings report, which was not great. That Chipotle earnings a little concerning here. Yeah. Chipotle bouncing good. I actually took this here, so not going to let this go back. Might have to raise my stop a little bit here. Nice bounce here in Chipotle out of the open. See if we can climb above 32 and build. There we go. There's another pop. Let's go, Chipotle. I know what I'm getting for dinner tonight.
New high CVU.
Okay, out Chipotle there, 1 for 1. Huge move off that bounce on Chipotle. It's right at its VWAP. We'll see if it can clear. I can rebuy that if necessary. Here's your CVU chart. Woo! This is how we get started, 13. Pumped up.
And we got football tonight.
And we got football, and the Blackhawks play again, and they're hot. You tell you what, you know what? I'm so excited. I'll be right back, 13.
I know, you're about to explode. You better
keep the energy pumping, baby. Keep it pumping. BRB.
All right. Okay, so while he goes and does his thing, CMBM is trading lower now. VCIG still trying to reverse off that or near that 200 EMA. VIVS still trying to stay above its 200 EMA. We did get a print beneath it, but it came right back above it. Still looking a little weak. This might go lower, VIVS. CVU not stopping, though. Seller in the way at 427, deleted just now. All right, we're at 433 and going higher. Next big seller in the way is going to be at 450. Man, oh, man, this thing is just climbing. VKTX, that started to pull back a little bit. Volume coming in slightly, but it still looks like it wants to try and push higher. So might not be finished there in VKTX. MTSR, a little bit of a pullback after it popped up towards 63.50. What else is going on here? Is VCIG starting to turn around? Need to see some better volume out of this one. iBio is going for VWAP. iBio is getting mentioned. Let's take a look at iBio.
I'm back.
All right.
Not enough energy here. We'll turn it up, folks. I'm just kidding, 13.
iBio is getting mentioned. That is rebounding off at 65 EMA, trying to go higher here. Looks like there's some resistance up around 180. But look at CVU, Ryan. This thing is making new highs, and I think that it may have run up into a trend line here. It certainly did.
You know what? I didn't even draw that trend line on here. There, it's so steep.
Well, you'll see.
13. Well,
hold on. You just hold on there, sir. Yeah, there you go. So look at how well.
Yeah, no, I get it. It worked. It's just
like we've seen so many times. Either we're going to get a rejection here at this trend line, or if we manage to move over and close above it, then we're going to want to see this as support. So depending on how this price action plays out here, we'll know what to do next.
Okay, we'll see what happens with CVU. Let's check back in on Chipotle. Is that it's still struggling at the VWAP? All right, my target was right on. Good stuff there. We're going to take a look at Meta. Meta is below its 200-day, folks. And actually, Meta continues to sell off from the open here. This is what I'm curious for anyone out there. Is anyone going to try and trade Meta for a potential bounce here today? Very, very curious how you're going to end up doing that.
Can you go to your daily chart and draw a trend line for me?
Any daily chart, or should I do the one I've already marked up, or does it matter?
For Meta, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm going to do it in this one then, just so I can keep it. Where am I doing the trend line?
If you start with February 14th, Valentine's Day from this year, and you draw it through the high from June 11th and keep that going, this is the trend line I think we're going to have to close above if we're going to see a turnaround.
June 11th, that's right here. Where is that? Here. So right here, this, right?
Yeah.
Bang.
I've had this trend line out here because we were coming in June. We were coming up to some resistance, and then we ended up breaking over this and going higher. We were also back testing this trend line all throughout that after that breakout move. So I kept it on there, and now since we've now started to trade beneath this, if we do end up closing beneath this trend line and we can't recover, then I think that we're going lower from here.
And I've got this at about 665, 664 and a half to 665, that numerical value for said trend line. Good stuff on that, 13. Lion says Meta has more pain ahead.
Yeah. The big thing for me was how they mentioned the U.S. and EU headwinds that could materially impact their financial results.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're referring to political headwinds. I'm not 100% sure with that, but I feel like that was a really big warning. And yeah, I think there's going to be some more downside coming with Meta. I agree with that. CVU trying to get over that trend line we drew. It's hitting it right now. 450 is the current high. Seller in the way right there too.
Okay, I'm a little bit nervous about chasing CVU up here, even with the trend line. We'll see.
I'm not chasing.
Yeah, Apple pulled back off that 274 high. Palantir lower, so PLTZ might actually tick up today. I'll take that. Google's continuing to pull, giving back a lot of its earnings print. Boy, I tell you what, any of those 300 call buyers, I ended up not taking it because it felt like too much of a gamble, but any of those 300 call buyers, you either had to be quick selling those calls at the open, or it probably just evaporated on that. Google here, 282.35. That's continuing to pull. Ondas continuing to pull here. Folks, I know you guys have been asking me about the Ondas chart here. Here's what I would say. If you're worried about this, but you still like the long-term premise of what's going on here, maybe buy some 5 puts and hedge your long position. The way I've traded this, I've sold enough of it to where if it comes back here, even though it's come back quite a bit, I'm not scrambling. I'm not panicking. I booked gains on the way up. I practice what I preach all the time here. If you're worried about this, maybe hedge your position with some puts.
Yeah, lots of expectations for Google to go over 300. I mean, we're getting a whole flurry of upgrades and price targets above 300. My thought is this is probably going to end up gap filling to the downside, and that might be enough, and we could just turn around and start moving higher. But that gap will fill if we're using the wick 275.34. If we're using the real body 267.67. VKTX back up to the highs. What's up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was Matt here mentioned that FMC is getting killed.
Ooh.
It cut the dividend and missed. Oh my heavens. I just took a look at this. This thing was 19. This thing is $19. Look at this move down on FMC. Yikes.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, that's no good. I took a pretty big loss on this one, trying to trade this, and boy, am I glad I stopped out of that. This thing's getting absolutely murdered. Absolutely murdered. All right.
Might be an opportunity, but we'll see.
Yeah, that has to bottom for me. If I'm going to take a step, I do like that it's it's much cheaper than when I was trading it before. But at this point, it's got to prove that the bottom is coming. Tesla pounding the lows as we speak. Netflix reversed after another pop up to 1,100. That's moving lower. So Peter told us that he expected some continuation to the downside after the knee-jerk reaction we saw yesterday. He is exactly right. That is exactly what we are seeing so far here today. CVU, by the way, pulled right off that trend line 13. I know you're not surprised. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, we were waiting to see if it was going to break through that and or get rejected, and we had scenarios for what to do in either case.
Golden Greenhorns asking, Ryan, can you do a really brief overview on how puts help hedge a long position? Sure. So when you buy stock, you're going to use more capital to buy said stock, right? And it's going to appreciate and depreciate in the way the stock moves. If you want to hold your stock, if you're worried that if I sell it on this down move and then next week they have a whole bunch of good news and it gaps up $1 or however much it is, whatever stock you're looking at, and you still want to have exposure because you believe in the long-term story, but you're tired of watching the stock tick down every day, you can use far less capital, buy some puts in the same stock. That way, if the stock goes down and your profits in the stock go down, because you have puts, that will go up. The goal here is to try and offset that so that you can remain a holder in the stock. Remember, the puts are going to expire. They're going to decay. So you're basically playing for just a temporary short-term move, but you're holding the stock for the long term. So you can hedge by buying puts in the same name and just to give yourself some profit if the stock continues to move down. Which one?
VIVS.
VIVS, got it.
It's got support from the 200 EMA, moving over the 65 EMA, coming up to some resistance around 320.
Joe is saying SPY is about to reverse right now. Joe sounds like he's calling a tradable bottom here. Here is your VIVS chart.
This is so the SPY down to close to 682. 682 is about where the support would be for my trend line that I've got here on the SPY. So wouldn't be, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if we did get a little bit of a bounce here. Not going to say that this couldn't head lower, but seems like this is going to be a bounce spot, a brief bounce spot.
Here's Pfizer from yesterday. Looks like this is rolling lower here. So I know we traded this just for a dead cat bounce yesterday. This now rolling over and testing yesterday's intraday lows. Ticker FI. Excuse me. SOXS. Someone was talking earlier this week, I believe, about loading up on SOXS. Did you do it? This is actually moving pretty good too. What's the other one that has a higher price than this? This has really only moved 15 cents or so.
Is it SMH?
No, it's another Bear semiconductor levered vehicle. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head though. I'd have to look it up. All
right. So VIVS still trying to climb, hasn't really moved since it made that pop over the 65 EMA. CVU trying to recapture its VWAP. It looks like MTSR still hasn't quite broken out of the ascending triangle. It hasn't broken down either. Rigetti, that had a pop out of the gate, but then it gave it back. Looks like it's still on a trajectory to come back down to that sideways channel that was established back in September. CVU. Daniel, you watch this here, not ready now? I mean, it looks like this is at risk of kind of rolling over if it can't get back above the VWAP.
Zach saying Ryan, seller buy puts. So if you think there's more downside, or if you're worried about more downside, you would be buying puts so that they appreciate if the stock continues to move down. Hopefully you can time it and sell those at a profit and then still retain your long.
VIVS pushing a little bit higher now.
I'll take a look at that in a sec. I want to see if Microsoft is bouncing at all. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about Microsoft earlier. Someone asked if we had covered this. We did it very, very briefly. One of the things that I had said is I wouldn't be surprised. This is actually up off the lows in the pre-market already. I would want to see if this can possibly close the gap back to where it closed and maybe even go red-green. We were down what? I think we were down like 4%. We're only down 1.7% now. So Microsoft is trading up. Looks like it did struggle to get above 535. Excuse me. I have no position in this, but this would want to be watch on this is one to watch on a potential red to green move here today.
Got a formation on a daily chart that kind of looks like it's a cup and handle. And if we get this reversal here and start trading back up, that's the handle resolving. So I see the potential for the upside here in Microsoft.
Cut. See if we end up getting that. Ondas bouncing a little bit there. Good to see. Rocket lower here today. PayPal continuing its weakness. Good Lord. Now, Tesla did trade lower here as well. Tesla looks like maybe it's carving out a bottom. Let's see.
BKTX.
Right.
Sorry.
It's okay. Peter's back. Let's see if we can get an update now that we've had the opening print. Pete, how you doing, boss?
I'm fantastic, guys. Good morning. Good morning again. So look, the market got down to 681.50. There's no real support down here. There are no moving averages on the 5-minute at all. So look, and I think at the low we were down around 50, 55 handles or so, and it's trying to reverse, right? But you know, the news is starting to circulate about what a great meeting that President is having with the president of China. They're reversing a number of the bigger tariffs that were really contentious from the beginning. So, I mean, the whole sentiment of that meeting, is becoming super positive, and that's starting to take over a little bit of the news cycle. So it's really, I mean, right now we're going to once the market opens and it makes its first move, and the first move was lower, right? We opened down 28 handles and we're down as much as 50. So, it's really a matter of what part of the news cycle takes sort of precedence in people's minds, right? We are coming into the end of the month, right? And that tends to put a lot of sell pressure on markets too. Let's think about that. So we're coming into the end of October, okay? And so when you have months that were up, or when months are up, you're going to see people take profits at the end of the month. In months that are down, so you realize that the hedge fund managers are basically graded on their P&L, right? How they look at the end of the month. A lot of these guys are still underinvested in the market, right? They got caught off guard. I do a lot of analysis of retail versus institutional and where they have been players. And I did an interview with a lady who's also an analyst around social media and stuff. And it turned out, and with this woman I did an interview yesterday, her name is Jessica Insop. She runs a page called stockbrokers.com. Super, super bright lady. She's a CNBC contributor. And we talked about a lot of retail versus institutional and where they are. Retail is incredibly, the retail community, and a lot of them are probably your watchers and your followers, have matured incredibly. They came in around the time of COVID, right? They probably got their asses beat, excuse my language, pretty badly around the GameStop phenomenon, right? A lot of people, thought everything was going to the moon, and a majority of them, probably 80%, just got wiped out. But a lot of them came back at the beginning of this year because they just saw the market continue to go higher. And what we ended up seeing was during that February, March, and April sell-off of 20.8% that we were talking about earlier, it was not the retailers who you would think are sort of like scared and a little bit skittish and don't have as much risk in their portfolio. They were the ones that were buying the dip. It was the institutions and a lot of margin calls and a lot of hedge funds that were selling that February, March, April sell-off. They were selling it there, and that's why large institutions, to the amount of about $6 trillion, are underinvested in this market. It was, in fact, retail. We opened down, I think, 267 handles one point during that sell-off. And we saw the market, by the end of the day, we were actually in positive territory. It was a $4.1 billion day, and it turned out it was all retail buying. So, I mean, kudos to the new retail community because, it is 50 million strong. and it's amazing. It's a lot of my audience and your audience. These are new people who've come into the market, so it's really a matter of where are people going to focus right now. If they focus on earnings right now, that's really bullish. If they focus on China, that's really bullish. If they focus on the potential of no more interest rates, that's why I'm hedging myself here, because, look, there is no support right now. I looked at the RSI, it's at 30. We need it to be in oversold mode, would be at 20. There are no moving averages anywhere near right now where it's trading. So is it going to bounce back? You would think so. And if history tells us anything over the last month or so, as I said to you before, the sell-offs, the pullbacks, and consolidations have been very shallow. But you know what? Today's a really special day because we're coming into the last day of the month. So you may see some more sell pressure as people take profits into the end of the month. They don't know what November is going to bring. And when they saw the market start to break down yesterday with a little bit of a fall through today, you would think that some of these hedge fund managers are going to, you know what? I have good profits, right? We have had 37 record highs this year. Okay, that's incredible, right? So, net, before that 2.7% pullback that Friday, we made it back up to record highs, right? We literally 2 days ago, we were once again hitting record highs in every index, right? The Russell, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow, right? 47.5 on the Dow, spectacular. Almost 7,000 on the S&P, incredible. NASDAQ trading, so these are record highs. So at one point, if you were a hedge fund manager and you were looking at the potential of maybe not a cut coming in December, and that you positioned yourself in a much more bullish way, you may want to take a little bit of profits coming into the end of October. Right. Look, but then again, it's so funny. There's always a bullish case scenario and a bearish one. Look, November, you've got you got Black Monday, Black Friday. You've got all that the holidays coming in, and then should be good spending. Now, the other side of that coin is if tariffs have been as high as they are, it may impact the pricing on a lot of people's gifts and stuff like that. So there's two sides to every story. We're going to just have to see how this thing pans out. But right now, go ahead.
I was going to say, indeed. Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead and finish up.
No. Look, if I had a crystal ball, I would tell you exactly where I think this, goes. Look, there's a part of me that really thinks we're going to get to a certain level at this thing and it's going to reverse and we're going to close on the upside. But it's just a matter of really where in the news cycle people's focus is on. If we get a tweet at like noon that our meeting in Korea with President Xi of China is going really well, we're going to reverse all the sell side and the market's going to close at the high, right? If we end up, if they have any kind of a continuation of the narrative around the Fed from yesterday, like one of the Fed governors comes out and goes, you know what, I was the dissenter and I think that the market is blah, 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 all that, then we're going lower. So, I'm going to hedge my bet on this because we, at this point, at the end of October, with what happened yesterday on the Fed and all that kind of stuff, anything could happen either way.
Okay, I'll say this. One of the things we do here on our show, if you make a call early, like before it happens, you make a call and that ends up working, you get some sound effects. Peter, you told us that after the knee-jerk reaction yesterday, we were likely going to see a move lower. That is exactly what we got out of the open. So you get a one-up. And Peter, I hope you like Star Wars because Chewbacca likes you, and he thinks that is a good call as well. So really good stuff there. We are bouncing here, but that first move was down, just like you told us.
Good. Awesome. Well, let's hope we bounce. Let's hope we bounce back. At the end of the day, we love when markets go up. Although, to be perfectly honest, if you're an investor in the market and a long-term investor, I'm sure we've been sitting on the sidelines for a while, waiting for any kind of a pullback because people try not to pay. Why am I going to buy it at the high? But look, if today's high is tomorrow's low, then you didn't buy it at the high. But some of these stocks, look at NVIDIA. Right, NVIDIA is a perfect example of a stock that is so frothy. Now, it's an important stock to talk about, and I'm not a financial advisor, disclaimer across the board, and I can't really address individual names. But it's, I'm going on CNN tonight with Dan Ives. Dan Ives is the #1 tech analyst in the world. He's works for Wedbush. He's really besides David Green, he's the kind of the father of NVIDIA, because David Green in February 2023, when NVIDIA was trading at $103, he called it as one of the great buys, and so did Dan. And we saw it go from 103 in February 23 to 924 in February 24. In June of 24, it got up to it got up to 1,100, split 10 for 1, and we're trading at 180 plus post split. And the CEO of SoftBank, which is one of the most savvy CEOs in the marketplace, he's put money into almost every one of the hottest startups and in the AI space, believes that NVIDIA at 190 post split dollars is still an undervalued company. Dan Ives believes that AI is a revolution, and that we are in the second inning of a 9-inning game that's going into extra innings when it comes to AI. They are out there building data centers that are 5 years off, right? There is a limited supply. If anyone knows how the AI thing works with GPUs and what needs to be done, right? It's an extraordinary business, and we have not even seen the beginning of it. Just think about it. I know you guys are aged out of this, but for a while it looked like we were going to be hanging out with the Flintstones. Now we're going to hang out with the Jetsons, right? I mean, we're going to have robots in our house, not in 20 years, but in 3 to 5 years. Right, our lives are going to be incredibly, and not in a bad way. Look, AI, for anybody who's here who's young, I do a lot of investigating to see whether AI is going to outsource younger people in the jobs market at all, and it's not a fact at all. AI is going to better our lives in so many different ways. Now, if you're a younger person looking for a career, look, AI, cybersecurity, all those things, those are the hot tickets at the moment, right? But you know what?
Agree.
But thank you. But the market, you know what? Look, the market is extraordinary. It's resilient. If you think about what this market has had everything thrown at it this year, and we are still trading at record highs. We've had a couple of major global wars. We've had the whole massive tariff thing. We've had a new administration. We've had so many things, right? We had the first couple of quarters, we couldn't even give guidance, right? JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon said to us, you know what, in the second quarter, I can't even give guidance because we don't know what the tariffs are going to look like. We saw a potential interruption of the supply chain during February, March, and April. Right, that could have been a way worse scenario if Mr. Trump had not sort of put the brakes on that sell-off and turned that market around. So to think that at this point in the year we're still trading at record highs, taking into everything, that's why a little bit of a sell-off is probably due. It's probably healthy, right? Any of you who trade technical analysis, there's a trend trade, right? A trend trade is when a market is going up or down for an ongoing period of time, and it pulls back to the 9 and the 15 EMA, right? That's how you build foundation and strength in a trade that's going to go higher. Same thing with the market overall. If it just keeps going straight up without any pullbacks, it tends to be a little bubblish there. Hi, guys. But when you have a nice pullback, it builds a foundation, and that's what we've seen over time, right? If you look at the S&P from inception, you have beautiful moves up. I mean, the chart goes literally from the bottom left to the upper right with wonderful pullbacks along the way, right? I've lived through more crashes than anybody, probably in history, still trading on the floor of the exchange. I did an interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin the other day. If you know him, he's on Squawk Box. He was a co-writer of Billions, right? He just wrote a book on the crash of 1929, right? Which was obviously, I was not around for that, even though some people think I was. I was not here for 29. However, it's an amazing story. Everybody should go check that out because to read about that was the only crash, right? We had obviously 29. We've had probably one during World War II or whatnot. We had the 87, the 2000 internet bubble. We had obviously the great financial crisis of 07. We had COVID, and then we had the mini crash of this year. The only crash that actually involved stocks was the crash of 29. All of the other crashes were related to either insurance or a health crisis or a mortgage crisis. 1929 was all about an inflated market based on stocks. So everybody should check that out. If you're a historian of the market and you all love trading, everybody would really benefit from understanding what happened back in 29 because there are a lot of consistencies between what happened back then and what happened now. What happened back then was fascinating. The market was literally only super rich people could trade the market. Then they decided, let's democratize this market. So what they did was they set up all these kiosks all over New York City where everybody could walk in with a $1 bill and they would be given $10 as long as they gave it back to the person to invest in the stock market. Suddenly, the market was up 100% in 1928, right? Everybody and their mother was buying stock, but they did not. There was no regulations. People didn't know what they were buying. And the minute one person said, wait a minute, market's up 100%, maybe I should make a sale here. I just made a bunch of money. And they tried to sell it and they couldn't. That's what caused the whole run on the banks and the run on the market, and that's what caused the crash of 29. Anyway,
right, Peter, real good stuff there. First of all, we're still chomping at the bit to talk to Dan. I can't wait to talk about the AI craze, what inning it's in, and what's next. Please keep us in mind, and please keep working on that. Really appreciate it.
I promise I will talk to him tonight about it, and we'll try and get him on the show. Is that the market bouncing back really nicely? Is that what I'm seeing on that chart?
Yes, it is, and we got to get to it. So thank you very much, Peter.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
All right, take care. All right. While that was going on, first things first, got to shout out Lion here. Lion, as I just told Peter here, when you make calls, especially actionable calls, you're going to get sound effects for that. I don't know why this won't load Google here. Let me go back to that real quick. Lion, that was an amazing buy there on Google. Literally called that bottom and a huge turnaround here. We're going to go the trifecta for you here as that Google huge bounce right there. Real good stuff.
Meanwhile, we have CVU that hit that 465 high, really close to the trend line. Backed off of that, we are heading lower now. MACD is indicating momentum is swinging the other direction to the downside. So as far as where support's going to end up coming with this, it might be as early as 340, but this is not looking particularly great at the moment. VIVS, this popped over at 65 EMA. It's trading slightly beneath my VWAP. I don't know, you might have a different one in your broker, but it's still above the 65 EMA. That's a support right now. We got to hold that with this current candle, and if we do, then we'll want to see this turn around and start moving up over the VWAP in the next candle. That's ideally what we want to see next. BCIG is still trying to recapture VWAP.
I've got to refresh, Pro. I'm sorry. I can't follow you on any of these. My thing's lagging too much. Let me try refreshing this. I'm sorry, 13. I didn't have any charts there.
That's fine. CMBM, this one has been providing some pretty good trades. We did get a pop above the 65 EMA, turned right back around the next candle and came right back down to where the open of that last candle was. Now we're back to trying to get back above the 65 EMA. So looks like you have some sellers in the way at 585 that we're about to hit right now. Just deleted them. Now we're okay. There we go. We're hitting that 65 EMA. We just popped over it. Don't know if we'll close over it this time, but that was a nice little trade to the upside there. Got a seller in the way at 1060.
Nice.
I'm sorry, 610. He's getting hit right now, but so far holding up. Okay.
Nice catch up there. Google continuing. Looks like it might take the next leg higher here on Google. 289. Looks like it's going to try 290.
All right. So yeah, VC. So I'm just waiting to see some the action I was mentioning with those names. Things have kind of slowed down here. Now, as far as the SPY goes, I'm a little concerned about the 685 level. So if you look at a daily chart, you can see that when we got up here on Monday, the high was 685.54. Okay, and the next 2 days, that was a support area. Even when we dipped beneath that 685 area, we still ended up turning around, coming back, and closing above it. Now we're beneath it. So I'm going to be looking at 685 as a resistance level, and we've already kind of came up and tested it once. We're above it right now. I think I'm getting some different readings here on the chart. It says it's under 685 on the chart, but then over here in the corner it says it's 685.31. Not sure which is the right price, but we're there right now. So I think what we're going to just want to watch for is whether or not this is going to end the day above or below 685.
Here, a look at the 5-minute chart shows exactly what you were just talking about here, 13. It looks like it's doing its absolute best to hold over 685. This is definitely going to be a key level to watch here today.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, and that 685, that 685.54. That was that all-time high print from Monday. I have that marked off here as a resistance level as well. And it looks like we are getting some resistance from that area right now, but not breaking down. So maybe that it can manage to get over. We'll see. We still have a lot of day left.
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. Looks like this bounce is slowing down, but as you said, we'll see how that ends up going. All right, what else you got?
VKTX is still climbing towards the pre-market high. We actually might end up. Looks like it's kind of trading into a bit of an ascending triangle, although it may be more of a triple top here. I'm not sure which one to kind of view this as, but 38.25. That's been the high on 2 occasions. I think this morning, 2 occasions. It was on at 5:40 this morning. Looks like we were just shy of that by a few cents, 7.50 this morning. But that either way, that 38.25 area, big resistance level that we're going to have to get through. We're almost there. Be interesting to see what we end up getting as we approach that level in VKTX.
Okay, VKTX. This was a good mention earlier. Jay, looks like that's going here. Is he mentioning MRA has huge news. This is Numera Therapeutics. So here you go. This is actually trading higher here. Looks like the news was in the after hours on this one. Let's see.
While you're looking at that,
Sorry, this had news on Monday, and then it had some more Form 4 activity yesterday. It looks like we had insider buying on this one. Sorry, 13.
CBU resolving lower, like it was indicating it was momentum swinging to the downside. You have support coming at down at the 65 EMA, which I have at 285. Might see some support at 3, but I would just kind of give you that range as where there might be some support, 685 to $3.
Okay.
CMBM's still trying to push higher after getting over that 65 EMA. We'll see if it can recapture the looks like 625 has been the resistance area. Need to see a close over that.
You know, without us being able to close over this and maybe build above this level, I would be worried about a knife. If we just can't do it, I'd be worried about this volume drying up, then turning into a selling candle. We'll see.
Yeah, it's really just that 625 area. Just need to see some closes above it. If we're not going to get closes above it, then I agree that we'll probably end up coming back underneath the 65 EMA.
Okay. Let's see if Google might try and take a next leg higher here. Let's see. Here's GOOGL. It's trying to grind through 290. What do you got?
CMBM is trying to do it right now. It just got a little bit of volume. Next candle, it's hitting it. It's trying to go through 630 right now. It's right there at 625, the rejection side.
There you go. That was a good mention there. And by the way, the SPY also lost your 685 while we were taking a look at all those things. So we'll see if that can recapture it. Looks like it's still trying to figure out where it's going, to be honest.
It went beneath 685. It's trying to come back up above it right now and push higher. It's just trying to push its way back into a consolidation area. If you look to the left from the after hours and yesterday, big consolidation area from 685 to looks like 689 almost.
CMBM looks like it's slowing down here a little bit.
VKTX, let's go here. It's almost at that 38.25 spot. What are we gonna get when it hits it? What's going on with UNH?
UNH just kind of moving with the Dow, I feel like. UNH did, remember, this tried a couple of days ago, tried to get back above its 200, was kind of rejected at that. You see, the move down really coincides with the move down in the market here. Looks like it bounced and then rolled over again. I don't think there was anything specific here.
Just a gap fill. That's all that really happened.
Yeah.
The gap fill from the gap that we created in May, finally filled that completely earlier this week on Tuesday. You also mentioned the 200-day SMA. That was just a little bit shy of it, but 380 also an area of rejection. So not great that it's lost a 20-day SMA. It's only it's the second close. Well, not yet. We have one close beneath it. Today could be the second close. We don't want to see this close a couple more times underneath the 20-day SMA, or that means that we could be facing some more downside, in which case we would lose the 50-day SMA as well. So need to see a turnaround here pretty soon. Would like to see this back above the 20-day SMA by next week. Otherwise, I think that the lower prints are coming.
And Joe's right here. This is actually something we've been talking about, Joe. This is not new here. The federal government is trying to clamp down on Medicare expenses here. It was Big a Bees that was telling us that this one really exposed to Medicare expenses.
And they mentioned in a headline, I think it was yesterday or when they had earnings, United Health expects path to recovery in Medicaid to be more challenging.
Yep.
Now, there's another thing that's coming up with regard to the Affordable Care Act. Those credits and provisions are going to expire tomorrow if we don't have the government a deal and reopen, or have some kind of continuing resolution to keep it funded. Now, that's going to be bad for a variety of people. Lots of people depend on that for subsidies and affordable care, but there are also some laws around pre-existing conditions that even, the majority of Republicans like. So I don't think that we're going to want to get this this whole ACA credit provision law. I don't think we're going to want that to expire. and now that we've got the rate cut out of the way, I think we're going to probably see a big push to get this government reopened. I have to think that's coming next.
I think you're probably right on that. I think that's a really good call. We'll see if we end up getting that here coming up. All right. And Lion also mentioning here UNA along with UNH, some of the other stocks that we've taken a look at that like to move with this, Humana and CNC. We've had a number of traders trade these recently. These all under pressure, it looks like here today. Yeah,
it's all, I think it all for these healthcare stocks, it's all going to hinge on whether or not this government reopens or not. Because if it doesn't, by May 1st, these insurers are getting ready to send out a lot of letters, a lot of mail to all their to everybody that they cover, saying, "Hey, your price is going up. ACA is expired. We don't have that anymore. So premiums are coming up." They're getting ready to send all that out. It could be a bad day, a real bad day for the market if we don't reopen soon.
Chipotle here, one of your S&P laggards, down 17.34%, but up off the lows, and actually looks like it's trying to push higher. We'll see if it takes out that 33.5, which was a pre-market area that stopped it already once today. See if we get that rolling higher here. HBIO is a penny stock. INTS is a penny stock. I got 4 penny stocks, 5 at the top of my list here in the scanner. All of them trading on pretty high volume. CMBM, the only one not a penny stock that's still in that list, can't get above its VWAP yet.
I think Chipotle went down to where we were talking about it going yesterday, I think. We were looking at this going down to like the low 30s, I think.
Yep. And here, so this is the spot. If I recall from our discussion yesterday, I actually think we had a range in here, right? We had this area from 2022 to March of 2023. We think we said low 30s, which meant like 30 to 33, 34-ish. That's the exact area that it's in right now. You're spot on with that, 13. And also, look, the volume point of control right down there as well.
This might actually be a pretty good buy spot for Chipotle. I'm not going to get it, but this looks like it's a good spot to at least start position. I don't think there's a whole lot more downside that this should endure, but it's really come down from what I thought were some pretty ridiculous valuations.
How crazy is it that the stock split marked the top here? This is something else that you talked about yesterday.
Yeah, that's
wild.
We got the top, and then days later we did get the split. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, then it made the float just a lot heavier, made it harder to trade, and then the sentiment kicked in. Restaurants weren't doing too well, so now down we go. And that was a little bit of a sideways head and shoulders pattern that we got there that resolved to the downside. But let me just double check and make sure that we got enough downside here. Wow, that was a 50% move. Based on this measurement here, it indicates that we could see it prints down to like 21, 22. I don't know that we'll end up getting that. That seems like pretty low to me. But again, I'm not buying this here. It seems like this is a decent spot for a bounce. Maybe there's some recovery happening, but I need to see what happens at 35. If we can get over 35, I think we're on our way back up. But if we get rejected, then there's probably more downside ahead.
All right, Kathy mentioning Lion's favorite company, Newmont here, ticker NEM. It's AEM. Actually, I think is his favorite one. I might have screwed that up. Nonetheless, NEM here moving above the pre-market high as well as yesterday's intraday and pre-market high. NEM looks like this might be trying to roll higher here. This did look like it. What do I have here?
It's trying to recapture the 50.
Yeah, it's going to be your 65 EMA that bounced off of, and it's trying to recapture the 50. All right, Newmont, nice little bounce there.
Need to start seeing consistent closes over 82.
Okay.
That's what I think needs to happen here for NEM.
Tesla at the lows here, 447. That actually looks like it's trying to print lower. Tenzin, I saw that you were trying to load up Apple calls here ahead of the earnings. Just to be clear, your trade is a trade into earnings. You're not holding it for the earnings print. Let me know on that. Did look like it's trying to hold 270 as we speak. By the way, market breadth red across the board. SPY, Dow, Qs, Russell, and the NICE all in negative breadth territory.
CMBM, we did get a slightly higher print, almost at 650. Looks like 648 was the high. Backed off of that, now getting support from the 65 EMA. not sure what's going to happen next, but we do want to see this hold up above the 65 EMA for at least a couple more candles. And if we do get that, then I think we could move higher. Just not liking the way this current candle looks right now. It's got me a little bit on edge. Go ahead.
The advance to decliners here, that started off in the negative territory. That actually went back to zero and backed off. So advanced decliners were helping here, getting better. We'll see if that has another leg higher.
Gold's starting to act again like it should, moving against the market. And, I think the rate cuts are going to help with that. We're still right. I mean, I don't get the point about the CPI report, being a boon for rate cuts. I thought the CPI report was showing the opposite with rising inflation. But, we have been experiencing some weakness in the job market. So, but gold with rate cuts, inflation still persistent rising. I would expect gold to continue to trade a little bit higher now.
So we had Gunlock after the cut said he lightened his gold position after the huge run. We had that yesterday. He said that yesterday.
Well, because it is coming in a little bit, but I don't think it's going to continue to come in. I mean, we still have inflation. That's and we're cutting into inflation. It's kind of wild to me, but the administration has really got its hands in the Fed now,
and they are absolutely after lower rates.
Yes, they are.
Oh, the last print that we got wasn't bad. That was actually lower than the estimations.
Fed going back to quantitative easing and printing more debt. Gold is going to the moon. As long as inflation continues to persist, and housing is still weak, and
so is the TLT. Jay's right on that.
Yes, we got back over 4 again. Now we've been seeing the rate cuts cause that to go up, and then it kind of fizzles out and goes lower. I still don't think they should have cut this in this month.
You were on that early. You were saying that you didn't want the cut in October. You said the September and December. That was a long-standing call from you. That's not a new thing.
And ended that streak of over 2 years, but it's fine. And it's because now he's kind of walking back the possibility of a December cut. So I'm like, okay, well, we're getting 2 cuts then. It looks like. I just don't think they should have done it so soon. CMG out.
I think he means he was out of the trade.
Okay.
Chris, it was great. You hit it 3 times here today. Done for the day. Nice early day there for Chris.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this ended up trying to fill the gap all the way up to 40. I don't know that we'll get that in a single day. It's very unlikely, but it looks like this wants to fill that gap completely. It's all the way. For Fed chair, please no. I don't want that smoke. And one of the things that Peter was bringing up about how there's some influence going on in the Fed. He didn't bring up how Lisa Cook, one of the Fed governors that Trump's been after, that whole thing started in August before the September cut, and it's kind of interesting because since that started happening, that whole huge acceleration of the issue where they're trying to get Fed members replaced. As soon as that started happening, the Fed's been consistently cutting. Just putting that information out there ever since Lisa Cook was, the litigation started happening. They've been cutting consistently. Do with that information what you will. I think the Fed is absolutely scared.
Here's CMG. Sorry, I couldn't load that earlier.
You know what? I'll tell you what. If you think I would look awesome in a purple tie, maybe we'll have to do that one day.
Tomorrow's Halloween. Man, I'm just saying, look, I'm going to try. I told the producer this morning, I make you guys no promises here today, but I am going to try to scrape together a costume, even if it's only something temporary for tomorrow. So 13, I got to say, you want to try that. Tomorrow is a really good day to try that.
I'll have to remember to do that. CMBM getting mentioned by Kathy. That is still above its 65 EMA, trying to push up again to that 650 area. Looks like we once again, just shy of the 650. 647 was the high in this current candle. Really does want to get over 650, but that is the big side of rejection right now. CVU, this is going sideways. I'm not confident in there being a recovery yet. It looks like it could still go lower before it finds some support. I would think the 65 EMA is going to come into play here pretty soon.
Okay, this has got wicks to the upside. I'd like to see some better performance there in CMBM. We did run a poll earlier. The poll question was, are you bullish on Meta wearables? 39% of you said not sure. That led the pack. I think that might be the first time that we had a not sure or an indifferent option lead the pack. 32% of you said bullish. 25% of you said bearish. And 4 of you said bullish and you love wearable technology.
That'd
really
be
good participation on that too. Thank you, folks, for voting in that.
It's going to be a great device for playing Cyrano. You know that? Understand that phrase?
Nope.
So Cyrano is a character from a much older play, but you've seen a lot of movies.
Cyrano de Bergerac.
Where he would kind of like tell the person who's actually engaged with talking to the woman or whoever, what the lines to say. So it's kind of like you're getting fed your lines through the meta glasses.
Okay, I did not think I was going to get a Cyrano de Bergerac reference here today. You're awesome, 13. You continue to outdo yourself on a regular basis, and that's not easy to do. Way to go.
Yeah, I continually find new lows, don't I?
That's not a low. That's not a low. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, geez. I'm not even prepared for Halloween. I have less than 24 hours to get ready to do it on the stream. CMBM, by the way, still trying to hammer that 650 area. We're just about at that spot right now. We might actually take it, and there it goes. We just went over 650. We pulled back a little bit, but volume is seemingly trying to expand here. Anyway, yeah, like a personal teleprompter. As a matter of fact, that's not a bad. You know what? What if we start seeing teleprompters get replaced with meta glasses or something like that, where your speech is just being fed in front of your eyes? I mean, hey, now we're thinking, right, folks?
Wasn't there a scandal about some earring during the last election? I'll probably just leave that one there.
I don't know.
Lion says 13 did not hit the low yet, Ryan. I concur. 13 is nowhere near the lows.
He says yet, though.
Hey,
just give it time.
At one point, 13.
Just give it time.
Just give it time.
CMBM. The CMBM now, this is really getting some good movement here, better volume. We are, as soon as I start talking about now, it's going to probably pull underneath 650, but we did get that move over 650. 679 is the current high. Let's see if we can continue upwards to 7. So CVU still hasn't broken down to the 65 EMA yet. It's trying to turn around and recapture some of these smaller EMAs, the 9 and the 15. But it's doing it on some smaller volumes. So not sure we're going to end up getting that move back up to VWAP quite yet. I still think a 65 EMA test will come before the test of VWAP. It looks like CMBM. CMBM was the move, the halt fest from yesterday. Hasn't halted here this morning, but I feel like if we continue with this kind of price action, it might happen. Just need to see a little bit more volume.
And that was a really good mention. Good job sticking with that, the 13. Really good job on that.
No problem.
Google looks like it did kind of stop there at 290. We'll see if it's got some strength. Going to need something to keep rolling it higher. Volume is also compressing a little bit.
Lots of volume in CELC. Acuity. This one kind of trading into a bit of a symmetrical triangle. Might even be considered you could even consider it a bull flag. Let's look at a weekly chart, see what we get. Not quite yet. Interesting though. So what popped this up to what caused us to gap up even on a weekly chart? What was the news?
I'm sorry, on which one I was answering Mark?
CELC. Was this earnings?
This was we got medical data on this, right? This was one I think Chris brought up. So acuity. Yeah, let me go through this because I don't have this one memorized. We just talked about this. Was breast cancer, right?
Phase 1 data.
Excuse me, prostate cancer. I beg your pardon. This was for prostate cancer. updated data for the 2025 ESMO conference, a phase 1 study evaluating one of its drugs in men with metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer. That sounds terrible.
Now, wasn't there an upcoming event that they were going to present to, or did that already happen? I could have sworn there was something upcoming with one of these biotechs that we were talking about. No, they already did that at ESMO, so that's already passed. Okay, well, now I remember which one it was.
Here, September 22nd, Celcuity to present its pivotal phase 3 trial at the European Society of Medical Oncology, but that already happened, right? Yeah, that was October 18th. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Big pull, CMBM. Hasn't pulled it back beneath the 65 EMA, but it's down to 622 now.
At least you got your up move first. Before remember, I was saying that it was kind of looking like it might knife here. At least you got that up break first prior to that knife. Should have been selling into it.
CVU actually still trying to recapture some of these smaller EMAs, making its way back up towards a VWAP. Not on the greatest amount of volume, but it's still making its way up. VIVS lost its 200 EMA. I think this one's going to be finished for now.
Apple more lows, Tenzin.
CVIG also lower. CMBM is at risk of losing its 65 EMA. Looks like all the movers are really starting to come back in now, which is okay. You know, provided some decent trades, except for CVU. This one is starting to it's looking like it's trying to recover. VWAP at $4. So
Tesla continuing to move to the lows as well.
Is CVU a buy here? I personally am not.
I don't know.
Really
is
liking it? I don't personally like it here. You know, I would need to see some better volume. We're about 5 minutes away from the 10:30 mark where volume really does start to leave. If it's going to make a move, it's going to have to do it soon. I think a lot of the good movement in the CVU might have already happened, but maybe there's some more coming later in the day. I don't know. I just said right now I'm not sure I particularly like it here. I think the most upside you might get from here in the next several minutes or so is a test of that VWAP, but I don't know that it's going through it. Looks like VKTX still not finished either.
Tell you what, I don't see any of these movers on the list that I like at all.
What do they usually start with? 0 decimal in their share price?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying sometimes like the last several days here, frankly, I've been able to pull some pretty good ones off the top of this list, but man, oh man, really struggling here today. A lot of junky penny names.
Yeah, Lion, November and December typically are bullish because of the holiday season, but I think there's some real concern right now after PayPal's earnings and some of these other earnings that with the consumer tightening. Might be that there's a bit of a lessened holiday season. Like we don't see the revenue figures that we did last year or the year before. We get Amazon, I think, tonight, right?
Yeah, and Apple.
So Amazon probably will help give us some guidance as to what they expect. With the UPS having a good report, they are anticipating some pretty good volume. So it might be that we're gearing up for a decent holiday season, but I think I want to wait and see what happens with Amazon, and I just have the concerns about what PayPal has been saying with the consumer. We think SPY can fill the gap to the downside by tomorrow. Let me see here on the daily chart. Gap to the downside.
On which one? Sorry,
SPY.
I can bring that up here for your visual aid.
So I assume you're talking about the next gap that's basically in line, and that's going to be from the Friday, October 24th to Monday, the 27th gap, because we have a gap right beneath that Friday candle as well. So filling the gap that we made from those 2 days by tomorrow, I won't say it's impossible, but it seems like there is support at the 680s, in the low 680s right now. I think there would have to be some other news that would have to come out to take that down further. Now, maybe Amazon and Apple do that. Maybe their earnings pull the whole, the broader market down lower. That's certainly a possibility, but
and we've mentioned it a few times. Here's the slate for today, 13. So MicroStrategy, Amazon, Gilead, Apple, Coinbase, Cloudflare. Lots of big reports here today.
Yeah. So I think if we are going to fill that gap, it's going to have to be off of one of those earnings reports that helps pull the market down further. I just really can't say if we're going to be going down to under 80 this week. I could certainly see that happening sometime next week, but for now, I'm not sure. Especially with the market keeping its eyes on what's happening out of the Trump and Xi meeting. That might be a bullish catalyst. So for now, I don't.
Be right back, 13. Once
we get past that, I might have a better idea. Hopefully that answers your question. It's more along the lines of I'm not sure. Let's see what happens with the Trump Xi meeting. Then we flip to the next one. So yeah, but no, I agree that we're on the same page when it comes for maybe a crash or a sell-off in January because of the earnings. I'm getting a sense it might be more along the lines of regional banks when they report in late January as being a potential catalyst for downside. That's the big concern I have in January because we had some of those loans with Zion and Western Alliance that were fraud loans, and Jamie Dimon has been talking about how there's some cockroaches in the system. There may be more. Yeah, there may be more. I'm concerned that those cockroaches could end up revealing themselves between now and the next earnings report in January. And I think it could hit the regionals hard if it's as bad as he's alluding it to be. That's what my thought is on that right now. When is Trump results? You mean when are we going to hear about his meeting with him and Xi and the results from that?
He's back on Air Force One, isn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe he's on his way back to the States. The meeting was great. We broke it down earlier.
Okay.
We are expecting more news out of that as they finalize it, but so far so good.
That's all the news that I was getting at is what hasn't been revealed yet because there's still more coming. Any thoughts on BlackBerry?
This so glad you got asked that.
This is a tough one because it does look like it's trying to go higher. It wants 5. The past month has kind of indicated that. It's just that once this starts closing over the 50-month SMA, it seems like the stock tends to go on a bit of a run. I don't know what the news is going to be, but I feel like something cybersecurity related could get this going. So that's something to watch for. This has just been a really tough stock to trade. It's starting to look a little bit better, but it might need some more time before we're going to see any real upside. The other thing is that the float's really large on this thing. So anticipating like a large move like with some of these movers, I don't think that's going to really happen. It would have to be some substantial news for the company to move the 589 million share float that it has. Looks like there was some a Canadian PM had an announcement on cybersecurity.
Palo Alto is actually up 1.25% today.
And BlackBerry was part of this headline because BlackBerry is a Canadian company and they are they do have contracts with the U.S. government, a lot of governments actually, the U.S. government, the Canadian government for different measures of cybersecurity. Primarily, I think it's end-to-end point communication. But it's looking interesting. I just it hasn't had the greatest track record lately, and the float is really tough, really large. So it's been a bit of a tough trade, but it really does look like it wants to get over 5. I just think it needs a big catalyst. BlackBerry is jealous of Nokia's attention.
Actually, that's actually funny.
Yeah, Trump meeting is done
today. Did we even look at that?
What is it, Nokia?
Yeah, no, down 3%. Okay.
Yeah, Joe, we covered that. The Trump meeting is done, but there's still some more details that have to be yet to be released.
He's right though. We did hear about the 10% tariff reduction and the deal coming on rare earth minerals.
And now I'm still have a lot of reading to do on all this, but I want to see that before we start committing to anything to where we've we've given them money or we've given them anything. We need to see that they're doing that first, because that has been one of the biggest problems with China is they say they'll do this, they say they'll do that, never keep any promises. So I want to see some action before we start doing it.
And that's not a Trump thing. That's long before Trump.
Oh, that's way before Trump. Way before Trump. Ask yourself why there's the Philippines still has
Google might be trying to go higher. Sorry for interrupting you, 13, but Google might be trying to go higher. Get back in there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, well, ask yourself why China and the Philippines are still going at it, even though that was resolved years ago with at the Hague or Hague. I mean, so anyway, yeah, China doesn't keep its promises, so they need to be forced to do that. All right. MTSR. See, I did it.
Not the only one. I don't feel bad. Thank you, 13. Thank you.
I did that on purpose, just for you.
I know. It's what a guy.
TSR, new high prints, 63.74 is just slightly above the pre-market high by 4 cents now, but this could get going here.
ASST, wow, big rip.
ASST, big rip? Okay.
Yeah, we were rip off the bottom, and now it's actually trying to take the next leg higher here. I think we talked about this wasn't yesterday. This was a couple of days ago. We were talking about this one. It's coming back into, I think the next one, 140, probably next level there. 140.
It looks like this is moving on, maybe news from yesterday, because I don't see anything, substantial here today.
There isn't.
It seems like the boost of their Bitcoin holdings with new funds. That seems like this is what it's continuing on. And it looks like they also no, I don't think that was the case. So yeah, anyway, striving for higher prints.
MSAI looks like that just set a new high print too. As that pokes above 140.
Why did we not see 300 in Google this morning in the pre-market?
299.82 was the high print that we had in Google. But he's right. He's right. It actually does look like it's trying right now to set up for another move higher. And that might actually take us to 300 if that materializes. Here's what it looks like. I don't think it's confirmed yet. It just looks like it's trying to go.
I would hope so. That candle, it looks a lot like the candle in the SPY from yesterday, which would be a hanging man. That's not what you want to see. This looks like it should come back in before it goes higher. And I want it to go higher. Believe me, I do. But 80 RSI, super extended. I really think this needs to come back in some more. But when it does, load up. So I think it could go higher.
Google losing that 290 there. We'll check back in on Google here. I don't really have anything else great that I see.
Yeah, CMBM, that's finally turning a little bit bearish here at lost VWAP, coming down to the 200 EMA. VCIG, this is still trying to turn around. Got rejected at VWAP earlier when we were talking about it. VIVS, this lost its 200 as well. Trying to go sideways. CVU. This looked like it was trying to recover, but I still think this needs to go back down to the 65 EMA first before we're going to get any recovery. And then we already talked about MTSR, VKTX.
MTSR looks like it's trying to roll higher here.
Yeah, MTSR and VKTX, these two look like they're trying to go higher.
This VKTX mention, this was a good one, Jay.
Yep.
Shout out to you for the mention on this one earlier. Goldman Sachs reclaiming 800. That's trying to go higher as well. VIX, by the way, traded up to 17 and backed off that spot. Quick look at Bitcoin here, 108,000 on the Bitcoin futures.
Being asked if PST Upstart is a good entry here. So here's a couple of things to consider. For one, this doesn't look like it's at the 500-day SMA. It's already bounced off it once, but now we're back here hitting it again. I get the sense that we could end up losing it. You have earnings in 5 days. I don't know that I'd want to hold into an earnings print for this company. And you might know more about it than I do, but I don't know enough about this to feel comfortable buying it ahead of earnings. You just had a you just had a death cross on earlier this month, but I don't know how much I would lean into that, because it's the 50 and the 200 have kind of been oscillating, and that kind of makes the case for downside a little bit lessened. I just don't think this would be the greatest spot for entry. It might be if it's going to provide a double bottom. But if it doesn't show signs of reversing off of this 500-day SMA and it continues lower, I think you're still going to want to wait. You might be better off waiting for the trend line entry, which if you draw a trend line from August of 2024 through the April low of 2025, that gives you a sense of where this might find support if it loses the 500-day SMA. It's about $42 from here. So to answer your question, I don't really think this is a particularly good spot for entry ahead of earnings.
Wouldn't you want to wait the earnings report out unless you had an idea what that earnings was going to be? I would rather just wait that print out before making that decision.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was going to try to get a position in this, I'd want to see what happens with the earnings report, especially like I said, I don't know enough about this to feel comfortable playing for earnings.
ASST popped and then came back into the breakout spot, but didn't break down. Amanda, good morning. Rolling in my Google earnings money like Scrooge McDuck took longer than I thought it would. LOL. By the way, you remember that show DuckTales?
Life is like a hurricane.
And here's the other thing. My follow-up question, Amanda. Do you have a money bin? And can I get a tour of said money bin? That show, what a blast from the past. Please tell me you watched DuckTales. I know you did because you helped sing the song.
I think I know the whole song still. Not going to sing it, though.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's just nostalgia just rolling right now. I absolutely love that. Good morning, Amanda. That's a hell of a way to say good morning right there, by the way.
Dive Deep, sorry, is mentioning CRML, critical minerals. What is that doing? Is that up today? It looks like it is, 9%. Trying to climb. Actually, it looks like this might. What is going on here with this candle? It certainly looks like it sold off earlier and then reversed. And if we continue into looks like 1350, we're going to be in gap fill territory up to about 1410. Looks like. What's so funny?
Amanda, it's like she started a comedy routine. The money bin is quickly turned into cat snacks and toys, which is relatable AF to me because I got a couple of things over here that have turned into cat toy repositories. Day traders. So now we need 13 to sing a song with a purple tie tomorrow. Boy, I'll tell you what, you keep digging yourself a bigger hole here, 13.
Yeah, without a shovel too.
Oh,
remember when Peter,
God, is that good?
Remember when Peter Griffin tried that but broke his legs? When he tried to slide down the big old thing of gold coins? Yeah. I'll watch that show too. Dive Deep also mentioning Rigetti. This was looking like it was trying to recover, which is fine. Provide me yet another opportunity.
I was going to say, give it to me. Give it to us again.
Yeah, and we'll see if what happens up around the 20-day SMA. That has been the point of entry for RGTZ.
What do you have that numerical value at?
Which what?
The 20-day. What's the value for the 20-day average?
43.83.
43.83. Okay, we're at 40.50, so we're not that far away.
Nope. Still need to see what happens at 41 because that I have as a level too. We've actually been trading up to the 20-day SMA, but have consistently been closing beneath 41. And now I think we're getting the breakout in VKTX here. 3850 is the next wall of sellers. See if it can take that out. But we are getting some movement here, folks.
On my chart here in my broker, I actually have it taking out that pre-market high.
Yeah, Lion, that's probably going to be the best way to go about it. Here we go, 3850. Just moved through it. Great stuff, VKTX.
Yeah, that was a really good mention here today. And that move off the VWAP paid. Goldman Sachs still marching towards the highs as well.
CMBM went all the way down to the 200 EMA. It is getting some support there, but the volume doesn't look great. So I don't know if it's going to be able to, recapture any of the upside levels from before. This doesn't have great volume. Not sure what's going to happen here, but we are getting support from that 200 EMA. I'm going to need some more time just to see what it does. And CVU still hasn't broken down to its 65 EMA, but it hasn't really been able to recapture 370 either.
Amanda here. I think Meta curls here. I'm going to sell puts at 650 in the December expiry. That's a nice trade there, Amanda. You're selling those puts 650. That's what? Is it $3,100 per contract?
FLNC is acting well.
We talked about that one yesterday.
Now, okay, so I like that it's had a golden cross last month. That's great. Need to see this take out 22. Because if we don't take out 22, then we might have a double top on our hands. And it looks like you're going to have some more resistance up around 24 and 28 for FLNC. But I do like the way this chart looks. I like the golden cross. Wouldn't surprise me if it did bounce around a little bit between 20 and 24, but it's pretty good. A little bit of a trend line here too. That looks nice. Yeah, looks like that would be the case for FLNC. You see this capture 22 and not get rejected by it. You own that at 14. Well, I mean, I'm saying to the upside with this price action, because we're at 2078. You had a run up earlier this month up to that $22 area. It was rejected. Took it back down to the 20-day SMA. Now it's climbing its way back up to 22, where it was rejected earlier this month. So that's why I'm saying if we get a rejection there, that could potentially be a double top, be bearish, and we might see this come back in. But if we can break over 22, we might end up trading in a range for a little bit before we move higher. I'm saying that this looks, I like the golden cross, but I'm just pointing out a resistance level of concern. That's all.
Okay. All right, 13. We do have an all access here today. I know we don't have Dan yet, but I'm just going to handle it. So you want to give any closing words for the group?
Yeah, you know what? Nice to see that we had some change in market sentiment, but people had some trades. Would like to see a little bit more robust movers list, but you know what? Wish in one hand and do stuff in the other. See which fills up first. Anyway, folks, it's been a wonderful day. I'll be back here tomorrow for Friday. Enjoy the game tonight. And I'll see you later. Take care, everybody.
Okay, sounds good. Really good stuff here, 13. And thank you for being available to handle the technology issues that we had here today. You are the best.
No stranger to that.
Of course not. Of course not. All right. That is 13. We'll be back with him again tomorrow. We do have an all access coming up here. And I know you guys are normally used to seeing Dan for this, but you know what? I'm going to try my hand at it today. We're going to see how this goes here today. All access is going to start right now. Welcome to All Access. I'm going to be interviewing Peter Evans, CEO of Extract One Technologies. Let's go ahead and roll that intro. All right. Good morning, Peter. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Look, I know you were expecting Dan, but we had a little bit of a change in plans here today, so it's nice to meet you. Let's just go ahead and get started. This is Peter Evans, the CEO of Extract One Technologies. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. First question that I have for you here, We see a lot of really kind of scary news out there, and to say the world is a scary place is absolutely an understatement. Whether it's a terrorist attack or assassinations, keeping people safe and secure in public gatherings is getting increasingly difficult. The old way of doing it with traditional metal detectors, pat downs, and large X-ray machines no longer seems to be strong enough. Tell us about how Extract One Technologies is different.
Well, Ryan, you're very right. And there isn't a day that goes by where we don't hear about more and more of weapons incidents, whether it's what happened in Park Avenue at the NFL headquarters, where it's happening in schools in Minneapolis. There was just another shooting at Lincoln University at homecoming event. It's an unfortunate state of the world. Excuse me. And historically, though, the answer from the industry has been, technologies and approaches from 50 years ago. Metal detectors were, invented 50 years ago. Apply more guards. We've taken AI software and some purpose-built sensors so that you, Ryan, can walk into your favorite Chicago Blackhawks game. I see you're in the background there, right at the United Center. And instead of going through the normal nonsense of divesting all of your cell phone, watch, wallet, keys, and that long line, you just want to see the Blackhawks win another cup, right? In our case, people just walk in, stream right in. And the systems are smart enough when you walk by to understand that's a gun, that's a knife, that's a cell phone, that's your keys, and essentially alert on that's the gun, that's a knife, and where it is on your body. So where the average metal detector gets 6 people per minute through, we can hit up to about 50, 60 people per minute streaming through these systems and walking in as if there was nothing there, very transparently. What does this mean? Well, now I've got kids going to a school and I'm worried about protecting children in school, K through 12, universities, hospitals, and they don't have to divest of their backpack and put it in an X-ray machine. They just walk in like they did any other day. And so with a lot of tailwinds behind us, the unfortunate state of the world we live in, and it's not just here in the US, it's globally too. Places like the UK have introduced Martin's Law, now mandating every venue above 800 people will screen for weapons. These incredible tailwinds behind what we're doing, we're providing a digital answer to physical security.
I'll tell you what, as a patron of some of those, I can really appreciate this, right? One of the big kind of slow points is trying to get through security. If you could just walk through and this machine is smart enough to do that, that's fantastic. The other thing is that it always seems like scammers, cheaters, hackers, and criminals always seem to be one step ahead. It seems like your technology is kind of leveling the playing field there, which is awesome. Extract One Gateway, and Extract One View are the company's flagship products. You talked a little bit about how they work. Anything else on how they work and who they can protect?
Yeah, the nice thing about it is we've got a broader portfolio here that's purpose-built for different market segments. In hospitals, they want to catch the little small knives because of the proximity of the caregiver to the patient. And then the patient may be having a drug-related issue or some other kind of distress. So you have to catch those small knives. We do that extremely well with our Smart Gateway product. That's also the product that's going into arenas, stadiums, and large manufacturing organizations like the Kias and the Teslas and the Hondas and the Nissans of the world. Now, on the other hand, schools, convention centers, you going into your office, you've got a backpack, you've got a laptop, you've got all sorts of other paraphernalia in there. Most systems will alert on too much metal. We've perfected the art right now with these sensors where I can tell you exactly what the items are, and you just set up a menu. On the way in, I want to detect on guns and knives. On the way out, I want to detect on stolen electronics, leaving the distribution center from that employee who has light fingers. So, we've got this purpose-built set of products to fit each customer's unique set of needs. And that's what's given us the momentum that's behind our company right now in terms of our top-line growth, as well as behind the valuation of the overall company.
Okay, that sounds really exciting. Look, when it comes to the markets, the Extract One serves education, and that appears to be an important one. Extract just landed a deal with the Volusia County Schools.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that comes shortly after Extract was selected by Meridian Public School District. Is there demand for this type of security in other schools as well? And can you tell us more about those deals?
Yeah, absolutely. Across the United States, there's 130,000 K through 12 schools. So that's approximately a $26 billion market that we can uniquely serve. Anybody else has to go drop in an X-ray machine, drop in metal detectors or things that will work like metal detectors. So we can uniquely serve that market by just letting the kids stream in the way they are. That market itself, though, for us, we're just scratching the surface. Volusia, just in kind of the Orlando area in Florida, there's dozens of other schools that we're engaged with right now, running through trials. And we've actually announced we're going to have to double and potentially double again our capacity because of the demand for the schools that are putting on our business for systems.
Okay, live entertainment was something else that you mentioned there, and I really appreciate you mentioning my Blackhawks. I'm definitely ready for them to get back to competing for a cup. You're right on that. Live entertainments and events is another area that Extract is focused on and have had success too. You recently announced Extract was chosen by a leading global performing arts company. How's that going, and can you give us an update with that?
Yeah, what we found is organizations who are truly worried about security tend to evaluate different technologies. They choose us. Places like Madison Square Garden and all their properties like the Sphere, Radio City Music Hall, and the Beacon have chosen us. We've also got global organizations who are known for their amusement parks, their entertainment, their performing arts capabilities around the world. And those applications are going extremely well for us. One of those organizations who's put us in a very large facility in Tokyo has now actually expanded. We're starting to work on global agreements with many of these organizations and starting to one by one address different properties around the world.
Okay, so it sounds like the entertainment sector is going to be a big part of the business in the future. Am I reading that correctly?
We started, my path to success, Ryan, has always been do one thing really well. We said, let's build the very best product for arenas, stadiums, and entertainment theaters. And that's where we want people in NBA stadiums, NHL stadiums, places like Madison Square Garden. But the market wasn't willing to wait for us. There's 76% of workplace violence happens in hospitals, in schools. Nobody likes shooting in schools. So those markets kind of grabbed us by the collar and pulled us into those market segments faster than we originally planned, but thankfully faster than we originally planned. And so healthcare has become a great market for us with VA hospitals, with other healthcare organizations that we've announced. Schools, as you mentioned, Volusia County, fantastic market opportunity for us. We barely scratched the surface on. Entertainment and stadiums continues to be a nice, steady, solid state business that's just growing and growing and growing at a nice regular pace for us. So right now, the big fulcrum points for us and what's kind of putting a lot more wind behind our sails, the announcement of the One Gateway and the fact that we've got a unique solution with schools and international where we can uniquely catch the small knives that's the problem outside of North America.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, beyond education and live entertainment, where do you see an opportunity? Which markets is Extract serving today, and what markets do you hope to serve in the future?
That's a great question. So our four big segments, healthcare, arenas and stadiums, schools, and manufacturing and distribution. Where we see more, though, is with One Gateway and the fact that we can actually have people walk in with a laptop in their backpack. Every office building, and particularly since events like what has happened in New York recently, we're now getting a new influx from market segments where people want to protect places that you work. And this makes sense to me. If you think about it, every office building has smoke detectors. They have sprinkler systems. They have badge access control. It's become an obvious thing to look at the cost risk trade-offs of the risk of a fire in the building and invest in the technology to protect people. We're seeing the same thing now happening for office locations. And that, to me, my hypothesis here is 3 to 5 years from now, in the same way that you have smoke detectors in every building, you have sprinkler systems, you're going to have weapons detection systems at every entrance of every building. And now that we perfected it where people just walk in and don't even realize they're being screened, we think the market's going to open up very widely for us in the next year or so.
Okay, that's awesome. The ticker on the TSX is XTRA, and the OTCQX, the ticker is XTRAF. I'm really happy that you like sports here because I'm about to throw you another curveball since you hit that first one so good. Question here from our chat. Do you have any plans to move to the NASDAQ?
Yes, but the NASDAQ, as we all know, could be a little bit unforgiving. But I'm actually on my way to New York right now to meet with about 15 investors and continue to promote the momentum for our company. And the number one thing to ask for is to get on a U.S. exchange, right? And that's obvious. So we want to serve that. But because the NASDAQ is so unforgiving, in our early days, there was some choppiness in our revenues. There was some choppiness in our bookings. And you could get killed on NASDAQ if you had one bad quarter. So as we got more stability, as we've got more predictability in our bookings, more predictability in our revenues, and particularly as we're on the march to cash flow break even, which is quarters away, it's not years away, that's a perfect time to start positioning ourselves to get to NASDAQ.
Okay, perfect. I gotta be honest with Peter, 2 for 2 on the curveballs here today. That's really good. You might have to go play for the Blue Jays. That sounds really good. Folks, Peter Evans, CEO of Extract One Technologies. Again, that ticker on the TSX is XTRA, and the OTCQX, the ticker is XTRAF. Peter, thank you again for being flexible with us. Thank you for taking the time to come on. We look forward to talking with you in the future as you continue to roll this forward.
I've enjoyed it, Ryan. And look, let's keep in touch with each other and keep updating as we go along. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. You're very welcome. Peter Evans, CEO of Extract One Technologies. Folks, real good stuff here today. Can't thank all of you for the support. I know I had a couple of hiccups here today, but we are no stranger in dealing with that. Still had a fun day, still made some money, and guess what? More big earnings tonight. We're going to be back tomorrow to break those down. We got Mark Petrino tomorrow. We're going to have Anne-Marie setting up some options trades tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Get some rest. Good luck on any of the earnings plays, and we'll see you tomorrow on Benzinga's